Why, welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Sludge, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Welcome, everybody. Very good to see ya. I was actually part of the panel on this debate that we are going to cover, but we're not going to go that deep in. Gotta shout out my boy Rob Noerr, because he just did an amazing job here. And, you know, a lot of the debates that we see on the Raging Tomato, shout out to Sarah, are, you know, kind of in the realm of either very religious or, you know, going, I'm not even really sure. They're not framed in the way that this one is framed. And so not only is it an interesting question, but I think Rob did amazing. So we gonna get to it. As always, guys, if you can hear the video, please do let me know.
I'm sorry, the statement, we are better off having elected Trump than Kamala. With me this evening, I have Rob Noerr and RTP Talks, both ready to duke this one out. Rob, would you like to start off with your opening statement?
And guys, I did use Rob's repost of this, but both this full thing and the original Raging Tomato are linked in the description.
Please.
Sure. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. I've been looking forward to this. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So the statement is that I'll be affirming that we are better off having elected Trump than Kamala. Now, the first thing we have to do is get a couple definitions out of the way. The first would be the definition we. Now, it sounds stupid, but I do think that this is important. It's potentially a point of contention. When I say that we're better off, what I mean are the citizens of this country. I'm uninterested in how people in China, for example, are doing better if we elected someone who's weak on China, like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, versus that they may be worse off if the competitive nature of our economic relationship against them favors Americans more than them. And so I think for the purposes of this debate, when I say we are better off, because it's intuitive that we're talking about voting, it should be the people that could legally vote that we're saying are the ones that are better off.
It's America, Jack. Shout out to Dylan Stoop. Welcome. Very good to see you, sir.
And so that's what I mean by it. We'll see if RTP disagrees, but that's the lens through which I will be using this. Once we get that out of the way, semantics should all but be done. And the question becomes, in what way would we be able to decide whether or not Trump would be better than Kamala? Now, it's always difficult in the best of times to know what a person would do if elected president if they don't make it. We could go back and question, what would Gore have done? What would Romney have done? And so forth. However, it's going to be even more difficult in the case of Kamala Harris, who Joe Biden may have been a human vegetable, but Kamala Harris is just an empty suit. On the debate stage, she'll call Joe Biden a racist one night for saying that he's against forced busing, and then the next day say she's against it as well. So it's difficult to know what her actual positions would be. I think that there is two possibilities that we could look at when looking at her positions. One would be her radical Green New Deal-esque policies and her more progressive nature that showed forth in her 2020 bid for presidency that she failed miserably. Or, as she admitted on The View and other places, the fact that she could think of no substantive differences that she would have done different than the Biden administration. That means that either we're comparing the 6 months we've had of Donald Trump right now with either the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden administration previously, or a more progressive version of that. I'll leave you pick which one would be more of a desire or disaster, but I think that it would be evident that most people would say in almost all metrics, Donald Trump has been far superior to either of those two outcomes. In this debate, it'll be crucial not just to look at the record of Joe Biden, but comparatively, which is what we're talking about, that he would be better than Kamala Harris. This means that I don't have to prove that I like everything that Donald Trump has done, nor do I have to prove that he's the perfect president and that he's better than anyone ever. All I need to prove is that
he's better than Kamala Harris.
He's better than what Kamala Harris, which is just an extension of the Biden administration, would have been. And there's several ways that we'll be able to use this. I'll give 4 in general that we'll look at. The first would be domestic policy. That would include things like immigration, which I think it is obvious that Trump has been far better on immigration. The truth is that open borders were a choice. We were gaslit by the Harris-Biden administration over and over.
Surged the border.
That the border was secure, that it wasn't a problem. Then once they saw it was an issue come election season, they tried to pretend to care about it all of a sudden. And Donald Trump has lowered from the peak times of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's administration anywhere from 95 to 97% of border crossings. So I think what we can see when it comes to the border, that Donald Trump has almost completely eliminated that. We'd also look at domestic policies like things with the economy. And we can see with the economy that things that really matter, like real wage growth, are up incredibly. Gains for the group that we're looking at, voters or citizens of the United States, are up immensely. So job growth when it comes to the domestic population is through the roof. The jobs that we are losing are people that are foreign-born workers. We also see things like government jobs that are declining and meaningful private sector jobs that are being created. And again, the most important thing is going to be that inflation number and real wage growth, which is markedly better under Donald Trump than it was under Joe Biden. We could also see that there is other things that are going on with immigration, terrorism, etc., that we could get into if you want. Then there are foreign policy issues. I think that you'll see that there are a bunch of peace deals. And even if everything hasn't been perfect, like we haven't ended the war with Russia, Ukraine, and maybe some people don't like a lot of the stuff that's going on with Israel, Palestine, I think that it's
in Iran.
No different than what we would have saw with the Kamala Harris at best, or at worst. And at best, we could see that it's actually markedly better than it would be with Donald Trump. The third category that I'll talk about is sort of important issues of corruption. And we can see when it comes to issues of corruption, my personal first reason for voting for Donald Trump was exposing the corruption of the institutions that are going against them. And I think that you could see it's always technology. Let's be anyways. When it comes to these issues of corruption, I think that you could see that it's
so little things like that is why I used Rob's edit of this. But again, both versions are in the description if you would like to see them without any editing or commentary.
Actually, far worse under Joe Biden, and things are going to be exposed that we've seen since 2016. The corrupt efforts to go after Trump, all of that's a precursor to be able to do anything in this country. Because if we actually have an FBI and other institutions that are putting their thumb on the scale and are corrupt, then what we'll see is that it will be impossible for the will of the people to ever be instituted through voting. And the fourth reason, and maybe the most
a lot of people, I think, I stopped voting because of exactly what Rob just said.
Important is that it shifted the Overton window on cultural issues. So a bunch of these 80-20 issues like trans issues or sort of the idea that we have to be wilting flowers, you're starting to see more and more conservatives that are unwilling to put up with that. They're calling out things like degeneracy. They're calling out things like the murder of babies and other things of that nature. And that's a good thing. They're
even those of us that don't believe in God.
No longer worried about cancel culture, and the Overton window and the pendulum are shifting back. So I think all those are reasons that we're going to prefer Trump. With Kamala, we could see that she would have been negative in all of the things we talked about. In addition to that, though, she was the person who the disinformation czar was put under, and so we would probably see more censorship like those we saw on the Twitter files. She wanted to ban fracking in states like Pennsylvania. We could see the disastrous Democrat policies in places like New Jersey right now that are leading to 3 times the cost of electric bills. She lied about Biden's health for years, which shows that she's one of the most dishonest people imaginable.
Yeah, let's not forget that it's vaguely known that probably around 2015, given Biden's condition, that's likely when it would have not been easy for him to hide that anymore.
Including on a blatant issue such as Biden's cognitive health. And we would see more of the Luigi Mangione sort of left-wing people that think that they could just go ahead and use violence against people they don't like, including the left-wing attacks that we've seen against ICE agents. You would see all of that normalized even more. Last thing I'll say is when it comes to me and RTP specifically, I think because of that disinformation board, we should actually prefer Donald Trump for both of our careers as streamers because there's less likely that we'll be censored. And in fact, RTP should really favor Donald Trump as an individual. One, because it gives him content to talk about because it was impossible for him to try to defend the Biden administration. So at least now he has red meat about Orange Man Bad he could talk about. Plus, I believe his primary platform is TikTok. And I don't think it would exist without Donald Trump at this point.
Shout out to Donnie for that one.
So, yeah, for those reasons, I'm willing to get into the debate, but I think I'll be able to win on those issues that Trump is marginally better than Kamala Harris on all of those issues.
Well, god damn. So I'm going to let their, I jumped a little bit. I mean, I'm trying to let their opening statements speak for themselves. They do kind of go in circles for a little while, and we'll skip around there because we're not going to be able to cover the entire debate anyway. But, if you saw on X, my little blurb when I posted this, I was talking about why it is. We've been taking a look at why it is that Rob's so good at this. And it's not just the ability to think on your feet, but it is really having the details down. Like I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I don't have the detail. I don't care about the details that much. I'm more of a conceptual, philosophical kind of guy. And so a shout out for both of them, actually, for being way more well-read on this stuff and allowing me to understand better. But shout out to Rob Noerr.
Thank you, Rob. RTP to you, please.
First, I'm good with your definition of we, Rob. That works for me. I'm good on that. Rob's position here is that he's going to be able to justify that Donald Trump is a better candidate than Kamala. Rob, just out of good faith, can you say her name right? Or is it do you do it on purpose? Do you purposely say her name incorrectly?
One sentence. We got one sentence before the tone police.
Tone policing already. Yep. Kamala?
No, I'm just wondering.
Is that it? Kamala?
Wondering.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Is it Kamala or Kamala?
Kamala. Kamala.
Cool.
Oh, I
I
always
was
say it
wondering.
wrong
Okay,
then.
cool. I was just making sure. Sometimes people do it like they try and trigger people. I don't care. You can say however you want. I just didn't know.
But even if he was doing that, that was not a place where you can be like, oh, well, you should say her name right. Like, what are you doing, bro? This is your opening statement. Your opening statement.
Donald Trump. I listened actually. You debated my friend Adam, and on that debate with Adam, you said that
Hey, before he goes, let's shout out our girl Arrow. Welcome to the party. Yeah, we had Jennifer Mullen here before and said no, Kamala would not have been better. I agree, but that was hours ago when I first posted it. I mean, Jennifer, you're still here. Say hello. But welcome to the party. We are talking about the it's actually a recent debate when August 11th. We've got Rob Noerr against the leftist RTP talks, talking about the claim that Kamala would be better than Trump. Welcome.
You debated my friend Adam, and on that debate with Adam, you said that the only reason you needed to justify Donald Trump is that he's better than the status quo. I would make the argument that Donald Trump is the epitome of the status quo.
I mean, maybe in the last 2 weeks, but like as of the election,
the status quo. I would make the argument that Donald Trump is the epitome of the status quo. There's nothing about his first presidency that really stood out and left him above everybody else. Now, it seems like you want to ignore his first 4 years and focus only on these 6 months, but you're willing to take Kamala Harris and only Joe Biden's first 4 years. I would probably make the argument
as opposed to
that the first 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency are also important. There's nothing remarkable about his growth as the GDP. He was
benzos, wine, shooters, whatever she can get her hands on.
Largely on pace with his predecessor pre-COVID and then post-COVID with Biden. So far, this presidency, GDP growth is well below average at 1.5%. If that continues, he's on pace to be an all-time loser. So if I were you, I would take the first 4 years too into account. Under Trump, wage gains are steady, not exceptional in his first term. I think the average monthly gain was 0.24%. Under Joe Biden, the average monthly gain was 0.29%. So pretty damn close, but Joe Biden was just slightly better. So in both of those instances so far, Joe Biden's slightly better. One of the few places I will give Donald Trump and Republicans credit is that they are better than anybody at exploding the deficit. When you factor out pandemic relief.
So you notice how none of this is a comparative thing. This isn't Trump good or Trump bad. This isn't, is Trump good for America? Is your life better under Trump? This is a comparative analysis. Trump versus the counterfactual of Kamala. And so far, we're just saying Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. And so on all of those points, obviously it's the opening statement, so you're not jumping back in. But I would just write down each one of those points. You're like, okay, so yeah, Trump. This wasn't my favorite thing about Trump, but we're saying Kamala was going to be better based on what? Okay, that okay, you got a point there that Trump wasn't perfect here. It's not about Orange Man bad. It's about, is Orange Man worse than Kamala? Whatever the fuck you want to call her. Don't say, considering these guys have had Trump leasing real estate in their minds for the last decade, it's incredible. Rant free, baby. Rant free. Joe Biden is the name. Joe Biden is the name of the pen. Yeah, you got it.
At exploding the deficit. When you factor out pandemic relief, Trump added $4.7 trillion to the deficit. Biden added about 2.6 trillion. If you leave in the COVID pandemic, Trump increased the deficit by the debt by 7.8 trillion, and Biden grew it by 4.7 trillion. Fiscal responsibility is not really something that conservatives know much about. It's something they love to talk about. The place where we can draw a distinction is Donald Trump better than the status quo? Because if we have to take Kamala Harris.
So moving the goalpost now, because I would argue that Kamala Harris would be worse than the status quo, which would lower the bar to what Donald Trump has to be better. So we're now moving the goalpost from better than Kamala Harris to better than the status quo.
The place where we can draw a distinction is Donald Trump better than the status quo? Because if we have to take Kamala Harris based on what she ran on and what Joe Biden did, I think it's a fair comparison for Rob to say, like, I don't get to be all sunshine and rainbows. I don't get to do the what ifs if she was president and make up all these phony numbers. I'm actually pretty comfortable comparing Donald Trump with Joe Biden. Now let's talk about strategy, because I know we have a lot to cover, and I know.
So I don't consider that a pivot. I think that is a fair reframing of the argument of, look, we don't have any President Kamala anything. We don't have any information with that because that never happened. Whereas we have plenty of information of Trump and Biden. And given that Kamala said she was not going to do anything differently, we can compare her to Joe Biden.
Well, comparing Donald Trump with Joe Biden. Now let's talk about strategy, because I know we have a lot to cover, and I know Rob's very prepared. I like Rob. I have no issue with Rob, despite somebody trying to make it seem like I called you a bitch earlier. I was just calling a fascist in the chat who was threatening a bitch. So I want to be clear on that. I didn't call you a bitch. But I've watched you debate, and I've created some handheld signs to avoid over talking, so we don't have to do that. So what I'm going to do is
Did anybody see this? Did anybody see this with the signs yet? It's been Rob's posted a couple clips. Actually, I'm going to make a poll out of it and see what you guys think.
Some handheld signs to avoid over talking, so we don't have to do that. So what I'm going to do is the things that Rob likes to do, his strategy, instead of interrupting him, I'm just going to hold up signs when he's doing something. The first thing Rob loves to do is gish gallop. This is a strategy that's employed by people who play the game of politics, which is what Rob is playing. Rob's going to gish gallop on points where he can't make a standalone point, so he's going to give a bunch of unverified definitive claims into a sentence. If I can debunk one claim, he will require me to go back and debunk all of them. So instead of that, I'll just hold up the sign. The biggest thing Rob's going to do, it's called
So this is great for me because, we already got the projection. We already got that down. But anytime that he holds up a sign and it is not, it's not real, then we gonna be drinking for projection. Thank you, RGP, for getting us drunk tonight. Hey, shout out to Guam Tech. Welcome to the party to the like and share. Thank you so very, very much. We'll come back. Thank you so very, very much. You guys know that stuff is free. It is easy and it helps out the channel so very much. It doesn't even matter if you think anybody's gonna click on the link that you're sharing. Just by you telling YouTube X Rumble that you want more people to see this, they will show it to more people. Thank you, and welcome to the party. Guam Tech, the signs are only cool if the host is doing it. I like that. So Arrow, we're talking about these signs that he's talking about.
Go back and debunk all of them. So instead of that, I'll just hold up the sign. The biggest thing Rob's going to do, it's called reframing the argument. You will hear a lot tonight when I say something, Rob will respond by saying what he means is, and then Rob will change my words into a different argument.
So this is the reverse semantic obfuscation. So RGP is saying, I'm going to obfuscate the semantics. And then when Rob lays it out clearly for you so that you actually understand what I'm actually saying, I'm going to pretend that's not what I said. I mean, God damn. Does that count as projection? I don't know. It might already.
Saying what he means is, and then Rob will change my words into a different argument. And if I don't just hold up this sign and I say, that's not what I said, Rob will scream.
So then what would be the difference?
At me. So I'm going to hold up the sign. The third thing he's going to do is he's going to poison the well. Any type of source that he doesn't like, he's going to poison it in that statement. There's going to be a lot of this straw man, because what Rob may not know about me is I'm not a Democrat. I've only voted for Democrats one time in my whole life. So you don't get to use like the generic Democrat straw man positions with me. You're going to have to ask me what my position is. And last but not least, Rob's dessert. Whataboutism. So I've prepared these signs for Rob. I hope we can have a good debate. It's good to be back on the Raging.
You put the beta into beta.
Tomato. Let's go.
Fair enough. Thank you to both of you. And I do want, for full transparency, I already spoke with both gentlemen backstage because they both can talk for long periods of time. We are just going to accept that and nobody's going to interrupt. We're not going to make the claim of
you're not the only one who say
filibuster or this or that. We're just going to allow them to talk. And then we'll get back to responding. Outside of that, please be sure to like, subscribe, share. Both gentlemen, I believe, are restreaming, so feel free to go over and send your love their way. We will also get through the debate. We will run.
We love you, Sarah, but let's get to
that. Outside of that, gentlemen, the floor is yours.
When you say we should compare to the status quo, define status quo. You're muted, I think.
Shit, thanks.
I should have focused more on that than making signs.
Yeah, got him. Solid. My joke was still funnier though. I think the status quo. I went back the last 8 blocks of 4 years, and I said, like, where's the difference between I would say like 2 or 3 different administrations that ideologically are quite different, and you can see that a lot of the things that we argue about.
Hey, yeah, I sent him a super chat the other night, and I kind of want to, after, I've seen a lot of clips, I've seen him in general debates, but after ones like this and some other ones that I've seen, I want to be a little bit more prepared for that. So word up. That's what I'm saying, guys. When you guys are like, hey, you should talk to this person, it works a lot better than, hey, can you talk to me, please? Can you talk to me, please? There we go. Don't say I don't even drink, but I'm low-key having second thoughts. Either way, dilly, let's go.
Ideologically are quite different, and you can see that a lot of the things that we argue about, the president really has very little impact on them, and so that's why you see like GDP growth, wage growth. I broke down wages, the smallest possible gap, which was monthly gain, and I compared Trump, Biden, and Obama.
In your estimation, then, what issues would you say separates Trump from the status quo? If you're going to say wage growth, we shouldn't really count. There's a bunch of things that we say the president doesn't have an effect on. Then what are the things that you say are a negative for Trump that separates him from the status quo?
And so already you can see that Rob is trying to establish some type of flaw with the premise in the first place, that not only is it not Trump, I'm not a mind reader, but what I'm gleaming here is that he's going to try to flip it on its head and be like, well, actually, Biden, Kamala, whatever, that is more status quo than you ever could be. And so even if Trump is establishment adjacent, still better.
Then what are the things that you...
That's exactly what I told him.
You say are a negative for Trump that separates him from the status quo?
Deficit spending.
Okay, deficit spending. Sure, we can start there. Is there any other, though, before we get into that, so that later you don't say, well, there were these other issues? Like, can you just give me a general outline of other areas that you think that would be rife for comparing Trump to, quote, the status quo?
As far as like economic policy?
Doesn't matter in general, foreign policy, economic policy, etc.
I mean, there's a lot of ways he's different that I don't necessarily care a great deal about. We could talk about him, but I don't care a great deal about it. Obviously, ideologically, he and I don't align. I don't like his delivery. I don't think he's like a
more tone policing
effective leader. I don't think he's very unifying. There's a lot of ways I think he's unique, but those are pretty hard to quantify.
So if we were to say, you heard me say a list of things like immigration, you don't think he has an effect on that?
Actually, no, that's where you're right. I do think that the border being closed up is probably the greatest accomplishment of a Trump administration. And I don't think that Vice President Harris would have closed the border in the same way. In fact, I think we would be.
No, she wouldn't. And that's a pretty big deal, huh?
Be living in a pretty different world right now.
Okay, so Trump.
A better one or a worse one? Thanks for coming, guys.
In fact, I think we would be living in a pretty different world right now.
Okay, so Trump did good on immigration. The economy, I promise we'll get it into. Do you think that a status quo president would have released evidence of the corruption we saw in like 2016 with the release of like the Russiagate files?
Yeah, I know that you desperately want to talk about Crossfire Hurricane. I'm not that interested in that. I've seen your opinions on that. I think I don't think they're very good.
I personally am not super familiar with this, but you certainly had a reaction to it.
I've seen what was released. I covered the ICA report that they just released. It's a nothing burger. You posted it. It's a nothing burger. There's nothing there. I'm not super interested in spending 3 hours on like relitigating Crossfire Hurricane.
Holy defensive, dude. He just asked you if you heard of it.
With a non-attorney, when we've covered it a million times already. It's been covered and covered and covered. It's been investigated over and over. No.
Okay. Do you think that the status quo presidents would have moved the Overton in window on things like trans issues?
I don't think it's moved nearly.
Sorry, I missed I was reading the thing.
Move the over.
No.
Okay. Do you think that the status quo presidents would have moved the Overton in window on things like trans issues?
Move the Overton in window. Was that a glitch? What does in window mean? I know what the Overton window is. Well, let's just
that the status quo presidents would have moved the Overton in window on things like trans issues.
If it's just saying would they have moved the Overton window, then I would say no. I don't know if that's if he is just stuttering, or if that's a thing that I don't know of.
I don't think it's moved nearly as much as you think it has.
Okay. Do you think that a status quo?
Well, wait. The trans thing hasn't moved? As of when? As of when?
Moved nearly as much as you think it has.
Okay. Do you think that a status quo would have defended a human vegetable like Joe Biden for 4 years?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that interpretation.
Okay.
Of course you don't.
So then we will get into those issues. Now, I'm more than happy to take it to the direction you want, but I will say that I don't think you've said anything whatsoever about negatives of Trump at this point. And despite the fact that you have clever cards that are going to say things like,
Wait, deficit spending? Is that a positive?
No, we'll get to that. And I promise that's basically all that you've said. But what I want to get to is the fact.
Spoiler alert. Doesn't go well.
It seems that you did a lot of time like coming up with clever cards and saying what I was going to say, but you didn't really say much in your opening statement.
Nope.
And so I'm more than willing to get into like one by one these things. But we're going to talk about a lot of things that you're going to say is whataboutism. But when the prompt is that we're comparing Trump to Kamala Harris, not to your nebulous vision of what the status quo is, I think that you're going to hinge on saying whataboutism every time I say that Trump's marginally better than the Biden-Harris administration. You're going to want to compare it to things like Obama and W. Bush and Bill Clinton, which wasn't our option.
Oh, and we're starting. All right.
You're strawmanning my objections already?
I mean,
I'm pretty sure that was a question. Was that not a question?
You're going to want to compare it to things like Obama and W. Bush and Bill Clinton, which wasn't our option.
Yeah, that was in the. I mean, okay, that was a statement, but he said, "You, can we do this, or else you will do that?" So no, it was a question, you moron.
You're strawmanning my objections already?
I mean, the clever sign means nothing to me. If you have nothing to say, that's fine. We can move on to the deficit spending
That is the
argument.
correct response.
I thought that's what we were talking about. I've been waiting to start on the deficit
Okay,
spending.
your numbers were, how much did Trump in total add to the deficit?
7.8 trillion.
And how much did Biden add?
4.7 trillion.
Okay, can you show me the source for those numbers? Those aren't the numbers.
So that's from CRFB.
CRFB. Okay, can you link that in the private chat? Can you screen share? Anything of that nature?
I can pull. I'll get it. I can drop it in the private chat. Where'd you pull your numbers from?
I can't remember. I think maybe it was self.inc, which was taking numbers, I believe, from the Treasury Department.
I'll just skip forward while they're getting their numbers.
National debt in January 2020 from 20. All right. Here you can see national debt under Biden's risen from 28 trillion in January 2021 to 36.2 in January 2025. That's an increase of $8.4 trillion. Now, I'm not guaranteing that this is correct. That's why I'm asking where you're getting your.
It's a lot more than what your source said,
information
though.
from.
I'm trying to pull it up from CFRB right now.
Okay, I'll stop screen sharing.
What did you have Trump's debt at?
I don't know that I had those numbers in front of me.
Did you need to go back up?
I will. Is it cool if I? And that's okay. You did that, yeah. That's screen share.
And what are you polling here? Just total debt. So I'm polling gross federal debt. What are you polling?
That was total national debt, which I believe is the number that we should be looking at.
And so they're talking about two different sets of numbers that says, that created more debt or that created more debt. But of course, it's not a single account. And so the way that it is accounted is going to be different.
Okay, let's see if it holds. If the weight holds the same, like if the ratio is the same.
Do you want me to pull that one up?
If the ratio is the same.
Okay, so you want me to try to use the same source to see what they said about?
Yeah.
I'll see if I could find that here. It would be helpful to get from the same source. But what was the starting debt under Trump, and what was the ending debt? Do you have any your numbers? I mean, what did your numbers suggest?
Oh, my numbers?
Yes.
We were at
8 and 4,
excluding COVID, 4.7 trillion. And
8.3, I thought he said. Or
adding COVID, 2.6 trillion.
Let's see.
That's not what he asked you. You're now giving two different Biden numbers.
This says from the same site. It's not listed the same. It's a different article. But if you don't mind, is that the right one? 1.8 trillion.
Oh, sorry.
Presidency. The U.S. national debt increased 8.18 trillion.
Where are you? Oh, there we go.
So that's less than it increased under the Biden presidency.
Is that including COVID?
That is the total national debt numbers for both presidents.
Okay, so roughly the same.
Yeah, a little worse under
And then
Biden.
if you look,
So not twice as bad under Trump as you just stated?
and then if you look at gross, then a better performance for Biden. So yeah.
What do you mean
status
if you
quo,
look
or
at gross? I don't understand what you mean by that term.
Gross federal debt, I believe, let me make sure I have this right. I believe gross federal debt factors in the debt you owe to yourself.
It sounds to me that like the number one attack you have on Trump, it's like, oh, he was a little bit better than Biden. That's what it sounds like. That was your big attack?
Pretty much.
It looks like a little bit worse, actually.
No, I don't think so. When we look at the
gross
total
federal deficit refers to the difference between the total amount of money the government spends and the total amount of money it takes in over a specific period, usually a fiscal year. Okay, so I don't know where you're getting these numbers from. I'm getting my numbers from the I think
My numbers are better than your numbers, and that's what we're about to get to the point where we're gonna skip ahead a little bit, but you can see why this is just not my thing to get into the numbers and this number and that somewhere you divide this.
have a better source here.
Okay,
I think your
throw him on
numbers are
stage.
wrong.
Throw him on stage. Let's see.
If you go to cfrb.org,
Just screen share.
defense.
What do you?
Here's-
You said your one differentiation on his negative was the fact that he was a really bad debt spender, which Biden did worse.
on gross, yeah. Let me pull this up.
Well, when you only count the numbers that I want you to count, then it works totally in my favor.
Like I'm
You're-
saying that there
I don't
are
have to
offensive
defend
reasons to
anything.
prefer Trump over Kamala, and you're saying that's not true, right? And I gave a bunch, and the one argument you gave is offense against Trump because you're like, basically he's the same as everyone else. The one piece that you articulated was, well, he deficit spends more than others. He drove up the debt more than others.
Well, don't forget that he also said he would do way better than Kamala on the border. So
It doesn't seem that's the case.
It is the case, and I'm going to drop it in the chat right now. Where does the check?
The first term. So I don't know why you would bring that up when it comes to economic numbers.
Well, I gave you the monthly average monthly gain.
we're just going to read what they got here, and then we're going to jump ahead a little bit because we, as Rob has already pointed out, the numbers are that Trump's numbers are that when you include everything, then Biden did worse than Trump. And so they're going to go around in circles and argue it, and we're just going to move on.
When it came to wages, and Biden outperformed Trump
But
there.
wages
too,
wages are irrelevant.
0.29.
Wages are irrelevant. Real wage growth is what's going to
You
matter.
brought up this is real wage growth.
No, it's not.
It is.
Say you're going to be wrong about a second data point. Your argument is that real wage growth under the Harris-Biden administration was positive.
Average monthly gain.
What was the total real wage growth under the Biden-Harris administration? It was negative. I believe it was about -8.
What's your source there?
What's your source?
Bro, I just gave you my source, the CFRB. I've given you. You're the only one that hasn't given a source yet, Rob.
First off,
Well,
I
we
gave a
just
source
looked at
before you. I don't know if you remember that.
We
Is
just
that
looked
straw? Am I
at
supposed to hold up
it.
a sign that says straw man there?
You
Is
just
that what it
said
says?
I don't. You literally said I don't know where the source is from.
No.
That's what you said.
No. I didn't know where the source was from when it comes to. First off, I didn't say I don't know where the source is from originally with the Trump stuff, with the numbers that you're talking about, the deficit spending. But I said I gave the number about the negative growth under Biden. I could find the source if you.
So, and they just go around through that again. Again, the entire thing is linked in the description if you don't trust me and think I'm whatever. But I figure we'll just get to the fun stuff.
What you're making, then you don't really have wage growth, right? It's measuring the value of your dollar. And when we had inflation at 9% due to COVID, you want to keep that number in because it's the only way statistically that you can back up wage growth with Trump. If you
Okay, so that's it. Yeah, what Rob is doing is taking numbers where they are accounting for what happened, including COVID, and RTP is trying to say that we should take that out.
factor that out, you know what happens to your numbers. You know they're not good.
Just like how you know that if you factor them in, then what it does to your numbers.
Again,
This
we're
is so
trying.
dishonest.
I mean, and it's incredible. Like what I'm trying to do is I'm like, okay, let's together figure out how we would factor that out. Right. And so what we would do is we'd find a starting point where we could look at Biden and say, okay, here's the real wage growth under Biden. You say, I said real wage growth. You didn't. You keep pivoting back to just regular wage growth. Okay. Can you define what real wage growth is? I don't think you can.
Yeah, real wage growth is it's your wages and then it factors in inflation. So it's more like purchasing power.
Okay. So then you're saying the question I asked you then was, real wage growth, if we start in 2022 and we look, you're suggesting that it was better under Biden than it was under Trump. You keep saying it over and over. If we factor out the COVID inflation, you'll see that the numbers are terrible for Trump.
Yeah.
And then when I ask you specifically, okay, then let's look at that data set, which I haven't looked up. But if we look at it and you're like, nah, I haven't looked at it, I don't really care, it's not important, you could look at it some other time. But this seems to be the crux of your argument.
I'm giving you the source. I don't remember the exact date ranges that they took out for COVID. That's the only part I'm unsure of. And in order to get that number, I would have to go back into the report and read it again.
Yeah, so they were talking about this whole thing that whole time.
I think that the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, I think that's a solid source. I think that you and I are saying the same thing. The only disagreement that you and I have right now is whether or not we should factor in the 9% inflation from Biden's term, and we should call that, we should blame him. I've asked you again, Rob, have you ever done the numbers with factoring out COVID? Have you ever run those numbers before?
I'm trying to ask you specifically how we would do that. What point would we start looking at with Biden?
How the fuck is that an answer to what I just asked?
Because
I just asked you a very simple question. Have you done it? This is yes or no, and then you can answer. But have you ever factored out the inflation and looked at the wages, Rob?
Yes.
Okay, what's the difference then?
It's worse under Biden.
It's worse. It's just, what's the numbers?
I don't know. Look it up. You can find it yourself.
Now I need you to give me those numbers. Now you've done it, and you said it's still worse under Biden.
Yes. What
I'm
I'm
getting those numbers from, because my numbers say that it's better under Biden. And
So whenever you're losing, you just ask a question about something tangentially related that you know the person's not going to have memorized, so that would okay. Well, now I need to see those numbers.
I'm using the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. What are you using?
You can't even make these comparisons, and I'll tell you why. Right? Because when I said, okay, where would we look? What time frame would we start to look? When you say, have you factored it out? Have you factored it out? I have to ask you, where would you start to factor it out? How would we do that? You can't give me an answer. And now
I don't remember the date.
Now you're saying, I've already done it. I looked and it's better for Biden. Okay.
Yeah. So when did you factor out COVID? He's asking you when to do that, and you said I don't know, and you said you already did it.
And now
I don't remember the date.
Now you're saying, I've already done it. I looked and it's better for Biden. Okay, so the data that you're looking at right now, you're looking at data right now, is what you're telling me. And
because again, the point is that we may disagree on when to start discounting things and saying, well, this is now when COVID is taking effect more than, economic and market forces. That's the point here, is that you can't just pick a spot and be like, this is like the New York City people. They're like, oh, crime is down in New York City. As of when? As of a pandemic, what is an all-time high? Like back in the 90s. So that doesn't really mean anything. And so we're doing the same thing here. And we're trying to determine, okay, when are we starting this? And he's getting all defensive about it.
Better for Biden. Okay, so the data that you're looking at right now, you're looking at data right now, is what you're telling me. And you just said, I gave you the data. It says it's better under Biden.
Yeah, I said it's
okay, so what date did you start at looking at that? What date?
Brother,
there you go.
Listen, this was a report. It was not, I did not pull the report. This was an analysis done by, I think in conjunction with the Yale Budget Lab. And they pulled, I don't know exact dates, what they pulled from. We could find that. But it still doesn't change the fact that you just made a claim, which now you won't defend. Now you're going to pivot back to me. Why is it, Rob, that you, in the affirmative position...
No, you made a claim. No, you made a claim.
And you can't justify anything that you say. You haven't validated a single claim. And when you just said that when you factor out inflation, the numbers are still better for Trump, and I ask you where you get those numbers, you say, I don't know.
Okay, so we'll look at it. The reason I said I don't know is because it's intuitive that we need to know where you want to start from. So what I just did for you, as you were sort of moving, let me finish. What I just did for you, because you'll be slimy about this and you won't tell me what dates we should look at. I looked at the real wage growths under Joe Biden.
Did you tell him the dates? Oh no, you didn't tell him the dates. Projection. Let's be nice. Let's be nice.
Right? So you tell me when we can start counting. It looks like real wage growth from January 2021 to December 2021 was negative 1.2%. Should we use that year?
No.
Okay. From January 2022 to December 2022, it looks like real wage growth was a negative 2.9%. Should we use that year?
No.
From January 2023 to
let's see where this is going.
December 2023, it looks like real wage growth was 0.4%. Should we use that year?
What was inflation during that time?
Inflation average 4.1.
No.
Well, then it doesn't help my argument, so no.
So we shouldn't use that. Okay, from January 2024 to December 2024, it looks like real wage growth was 1.1%. Should we use that year?
What was inflation at?
It was at 6.3%.
No.
So we can't use any of the 4 years under Joe Biden to determine what his numbers would be.
Wait, inflation was 6% the entire
No, it
last
wasn't.
year?
I'll be honest with
That's
you.
what you just said.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I misread it. Wait, 6% was the month before. I'm sorry. Inflation was 2.9. But even I just want to be clear.
So then, yeah, you could fact. Yeah,
okay, so I just want to be clear. When you thought it was 6%, your argument was we could not use if inflation was high under Biden, we could never use those numbers no matter what. That's your argument.
Unless Rob, you can explain to me how Joe Biden policies led to that inflation.
What I'm saying is you asked me to differentiate.
Right.
You said we can't look at the COVID years. We can't look at those. I said, what year should we start at? You said maybe somewhere in mid 2022. That's what you said. Then when I went through the numbers and it turned out, whoops, those numbers weren't very good. You did exactly what I knew you would do. And you moved the goalpost and you said, no, we can't count that year either. We can't count that year.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you did.
Dude, projection. He is restating the argument, but not reframing anything.
I don't give a shit about your sign. Do you have an argument or not?
I just would like. What's weird is every time I make it. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say I do find like if we're going to make an equation, we have to be agreeable with the variables are that we're putting in. And I think I could be wrong, but to my understanding, that's what Rob's trying to do is to formulate the equation that you're utilizing to get to the answer. But you're both using different variables in the equation.
Yeah,
is that
look,
right?
Yes, in order for me to accept wage growth numbers, you have to be able to tell me that inflation was caused by Joe Biden. When you asked me when the pandemic ended, when they pulled the numbers, I said, I don't know. I think when we started shutting it down was about mid 2022. And then however long it took for inflation to catch up, to be back to a normal rate, right? Unless you can show me what Joe Biden did to cause that inflation, then we can have the discussion. But I'm looking at the whole world the whole world's having the same problem. And you want me to believe that's a Joe Biden problem?
I mean,
so I'm just going to mention this. And so even if we take the best, so cumulatively, real wage growth under Biden was down about 1.3 to 1.5%. Under Trump, in totality, it was up, 1.4%. So in all 4 of his years, it actually surpassed the best year of Joe Biden when we would say COVID had the least. And if we take out Trump's last year, the COVID year, real wage growth for Trump was 4.2%. Absolutely shellacking.
And you're pulling these numbers from where?
That number, the specific 4.2 is
every leftist. Now, and this is why it is frustrating that you have to be so particular and like just I don't know. You get it.
It's from economicsense.com.
Where are they getting their numbers from?
They are getting them from
and I don't mean to say that it's not important to know these things, but it's like when you're clearly flailing, you have no idea. You're not like, something about that sounds odd. If you tell me that it might trigger that I thought that was wrong. You're just saying it because you don't have anything else to say.
The Fed, I believe, is the numbers that they're getting from it. The wage growth tracker of the Atlanta.
Oh, the Atlanta Fed. Okay, I thought it was Denver.
Atlanta Fed and overall CPI from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics.
I mean, when I look over, when I'm over on Fred.
What did that do? What was the purpose of that? That's all they know how to do. Appeal to authority.
These numbers don't match up very well.
Okay, so give me the numbers you're getting from Fred.
You see declining wages from Q3 of 2020 to Q2 of 2023. You see growth through Q4, another dip in Q2, and then you see wage growth from Q2 of 2024 virtually until now.
Okay, so what I'm asking is, you're looking at a graph, obviously. So what are the specific numbers from those graphs? Because what you just said adds up to what I'm saying. That yes, you saw massive declines under Biden, and then it sort of leveled out, and it never got that high, and that it was going way up under Trump until the pandemic, and now it's going up much higher than it was under Biden again.
It wasn't going way up under Trump.
4.2%.
So what you saw in 2019, where you saw.
Oh, see, I guess I skipped ahead a little bit, thinking I'd skip this whole thing. I wanted to make sure we still got some of it. Where are we? Okay, well, we're still here. All right. Well,
that big spike in wages. What you saw is a lot of people like low.
Nope, because that was never the plan. Well, I mean, excuse me, that was the plan, but he didn't say anything about the sources. He just asked for them, and then they were okay. Then we bestowed by the leftists that it's okay to continue, like for real. For real. It's not like there's not hundreds of people watching and thousands that are going to see it afterwards that are going to be like, see, you could have done this. And in fact, In fact, I remember I was on this panel. You know, at the end, and he had some other sign or something or some other graph, and it was the most weak graph that didn't show anything. Like, just say the thing, dude. Say the thing.
Low-paying jobs, a lot of those fell off because of the COVID pandemic. So you saw a massive spike from Q3 of 2019 all the way through Q3 of 2020. There was a massive spike, and that was due to people like a workforce, low salaried workforce being removed from the market. That's the only time you really see any explosive growth.
I disagree.
That,
the numbers I'm looking at show that's not the case. So I'd like you to show your data. The numbers that I just provided.
Are you ever going to show yours?
Yeah, sure. You want me to screen share it again?
I mean, yeah,
I could do that, no problem.
Already,
but I would like to see your data. My data suggests that actually that fourth year of Trump's, when COVID hit, was when wage growth was worse for him, that it was 4.2 previous to that. And so that would have nothing to do with COVID if it was 4.2 previous to that. Correct?
Previous to when?
Previous to 2020, before COVID.
I believe, yeah. Q4, didn't COVID start in 2019 in Q4?
I believe that we started to see it really in 2020, correct?
I think 2019.
Technically, in 2019, yes, we were talking about COVID and all that stuff. But I mean, like, that's when conservatives were wearing masks.
19 is when, if I remember right, like November-ish.
So what?
No.
If you're not going back to say this is when we should start the whatever calculations you're talking about, then what are we doing? What are we doing?
I think that there was 1 or 2 cases, but I don't think that would have been enough to affect. In fact, Fauci was saying in February of 2020 that the flu was going to be worse. So certainly we weren't seeing these dire numbers then.
Yeah, so March is when we said it was a full-on pandemic, but you started getting cases in November. So that would have been,
and that matters because
I just want to be clear. Your argument is that in the fourth quarter of 2019, because
so before he holds up the reframe the argument, when Rob says, I just want to be clear, this is presented as a question. Even though he is making a statement, he is asking that this is what you mean.
So that would have been,
so I just want to be clear.
I just want to be clear.
Argument is that in the fourth quarter of 2019, because there were a handful of potential COVID cases, that explains why Trump's real wage growth was really high.
No, I'm talking about Q1 of 2020, Q2 of 2020, and Q3 of 2020.
Okay, so real wage growth was up under those times.
Well, if you go look at the graph, you'll see.
And are we going to address that? Like, that's your whole argument just flipped on its head, bro. Your numbers, your charts, his argument. And we're just brushing right on by it.
Okay, so real wage growth was up under those times.
I'm at, all right, yeah, I gotta take the L there, but I have a bigger argument, so let's move on to something else.
Well, if you go look at the graph, you'll see there's a massive spike right there, right?
No, I don't think so. Again, I'd like to see your graph. The data I'm looking at doesn't suggest that. The data I'm looking at actually shows that it looks like the majority of the wage growth for Trump was actually previous to 2020. 2017, 2018, 2019. 2020 was
that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it did grow every year, but it was actually grew the least in 2020. Is that what you're looking at?
No, and I'm looking at total. So you're looking at what? You're looking at this. I'm looking at total wages. You're looking at what?
Let's see.
I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit again.
First,
I think they do another.
I don't know if this is talking about that specifically in 2020. So show the data you're looking at, and we could look at it.
The tariff
and other things like.
They're going to start talking about other stuff. We get it. The economy was clearly and is better under Trump than it was under Biden or would have been under Kamala. Moving on.
I don't normally consume your content, but is it true that the other day you were complaining about the prices of things like steaks and other things like that at your local grocers?
No, what I was talking about was the tariffs, the willy-nilly tariffs that are slapped on places like Brazil that drive up the prices of beef.
Oh, so what you're saying is when you were complaining about the prices, you're saying that's specifically the negatives that you see in the economy right now.
That's because of Trump, but all the stuff that's positive has nothing to do with Trump.
Stupid. When you were complaining about the prices, you're saying that's specifically the negatives that you see in the economy right now is Trump's fault, but the positives are Biden's fault. That's your argument?
No, I didn't make the argument that the positives were Biden.
No, you just made the argument that all of the positives that we see the negatives that we see are due to Trump and have not. Am I getting it backwards? You know what I mean? It's the same old argument of, the things are good under your president because my president did it well. Your president did good because my president you inherited an economy. That same bullshit.
But the positives are Biden's fault. That's your argument?
No, I didn't make the argument that the positives were Biden. You made those arguments. But I would say, and that's a silly fucking
What are
thing
you
to say,
talking
because-
about? I never
because
said
the price,
that.
because the reason that the price of beef went up is because of fucking tariffs. Now, I asked you, like, why did inflation go up? And you're like, supply side economics. And you can't really substantiate that. There is a direct correlation between the price of beef and the world's dumbest tariffs. A direct correlation.
Okay, so I think that it's evident for everyone to see.
By the way, your fans watch my show. I appreciate that.
I mean, someone has to, I guess. But it's evident for
Rob,
everyone to see.
have you compared our views on YouTube? You took a shot at me at the beginning of this. Do you know that I have more subs than you and I get about 20x your views?
believe
Rob?
I said backstage to leave the personal shit off my screen and stay
Sarah,
off
he
topic.
opened with
Stay
that. How
on
many-
topic.
Sarah,
I'm
he
gonna tell you
opened with
both.
that. He opened with that. This is getting a little old, honestly, Sarah. You have never once corrected anybody
Shout out
on
to
your side that
Rob.
I've debated with. Rob has taken personal shot after personal shot. He just went back to this. I'm allowed to take the same personal shots.
That's fine.
About
Wait,
the
I'm more than happy.
And then exactly. Then Rob can say, "Oh, it's totally fine. I'm not offended." Well, Sarah, just you take the L or you take the dub. You don't get to litigate what happened in the debate. The debate is the debate, brother.
Back to this. I'm allowed to take the same personal shots.
That's fine.
About
Wait,
the
I'm more than happy.
Are
He
you talking
literally
about
said-
the steak thing?
I'm more than
No, I'm
happy.
talking about the TikTok thing. He, in his opening statement, he basically said, like, I'm only on TikTok. First of all, I'm never on TikTok.
There's nothing wrong with TikTok. Actually, streaming on TikTok is not the same thing as streaming on other platforms.
And now he's saying somebody's got to watch your show. My views compared to yours, Rob, he literally insulted me and said, someone's got to watch your show. I'm not entitled to be like, oh, I'm sorry, Rob. Your last video got 1,000 views and mine got 80,000.
All
Okay,
right, we
now
can
let's-
just shut down and everybody can just go home, or
Sarah,
we can just
if
get
I
back
may-
to the fucking point.
If I may,
Go ahead.
I'm happy once we're done with this conversation before we get to open panel to talk about his audit views. I don't have a problem with that. We could do that. I have no problem doing that. But for now,
That's not an insult.
we'll talk about the subject at hand. That's fine. I'm sorry
Brilliant.
that it hurt your feelings.
Brilliant. That is how you thread the needle. That is how you get your jabs in and say what needs to be said concisely and quickly without derailing the conversation
Thanks so much.
and triggering your opponent in the process.
Maybe you need a sign
Okay.
to remind yourself
So,
to.
listen, gentlemen, when I say something, I mean it to everyone on screen. So RTP, even though you were
Me?
the last one to talk, talking shit, when I say it, that means both of you are in trouble. Okay. You always complain, well, you did this with this person and not this with that. No, when I talk, I'm speaking to everyone and shots are fired.
Guantag said, Rob and you do a great job of cutting through the bullshit and just stating things in a way that a midwit like me can understand. The left just can't teach or debate like Einstein. Yeah, I that is the difficult part of all of this and why I am not a debate bro. Why, when I'm asking to talk to like Rob or Jake Rattlesnake, or it's I don't necessarily we could have discussions and debate, but it's not like I want to set up a debate between me and you. That's not what I want to do, because you have to then play their game. And because they have all these numbers and sources and this and that, if you don't know enough about them to debunk them, which they all should be debunked, then they win. And so, it's similar to the whether it was the Jubilee surrounded thing or the modern day debate thing that I did, where it's like, it's not really fair. It's not a fair exchange. If I say, I'm going to say a basically true statement that very few people are going to disagree with, and if you can't prove me wrong in 5 minutes, then I win.
What?
And so here, it's like, if I'm going to reference all of these things that don't really have to do with anything except for the fact that I say they have to do with them. And if you can't debunk these things that I'm referring to, then you need to do your education. It's like, this is not good faith. Not good faith at all. But very informative.
This person and not this with that. No, when I talk, I'm speaking to everyone and shots are fired. End of story. Now we can sit here and I can act like your mama and put you in timeout and yada, 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 or we can actually get back to the fucking debate.
Okay. So I'm happy to talk about that at the end, though. No problem at all. So we can see that anyone who's paying attention can see anytime that I'll bring up positive things that are happening under Trump's economic, he'll say, that's just because of Biden. Then he makes this absurd claim that I'm the one who said that the positives under Trump was because of Biden. That's not true at all. And And so you can see that actually what ends up happening is that he's going to pick and choose and say, the things that are bad with the economy right now, it's not Biden's economy anymore. The tariffs have been effective. We can see massive trade deals. That's another difference that we've seen. That's brought in huge amounts of investment. Let's see, the total that I'm looking on that is, it looks like the numbers are showing best estimates. Trump's team's claimed 8 trillion. Best estimates are showing, though, that it's probably 4.3 to 5.5 trillion dollars in just investment guarantees alone from companies and countries as a result of Trump's tariff strategy. In addition to that,
notice there's a tariff strategy. Tariff strategy. It was a strategy.
Investment guarantees alone from companies and countries as a result of Trump's tariff strategy. In addition to that, we could see that there's revenue that's coming in from those tariffs, and it's encouraging more manufacturing and better trade deals in general with countries like Japan, European Union, Indonesia, and others.
Wait, but Rob, even though the price of beef temporarily went up in America?
So those are all positive things that are occurring to this, in addition to the rest of the positive economic developments that we're talking about here, that he hand waves away and say, trust me, bro, it's because of Biden.
What guaranteed investments do we have?
So, for example, you had Stargate, Apple, NVIDIA, TSMC. You had places like the UAE, Japan, China that have all agreed. I believe the EU trade deal talks specifically about guaranteed to invest in, or to spend $500 billion, I think, alone in energy that they're going to purchase from the United States.
Whoa, that sounds good. That sounds good.
So what's the guarantee?
And again, I am. This is why you will never see me try to frame myself in the same realm as Rob Noerr or Andrew Wilson, or I mean even RTP for that matter. I don't know him that well, but he seems to be well read on the stats that he's talking about. He just doesn't really understand what they actually amount to. But I need a more philosophical or conceptual argument. Otherwise, I just get bored. I just get bored with the numbers. Well, it's 6. No, it's 7. It's 9, but it's 5.
The
How
guarantee
do we collect on that guarantee.
And again, that is a shout out to them who are able to really get in the weeds with that stuff.
Guarantee that they're going to purchase from the United States. And
so what's the guarantee?
The
How
guarantee
do we collect on that guarantee.
I guess the guarantee is that they've written that into the actual negotiations that they've signed. Yes.
You've
Where? Source?
seen that negotiation signed?
No, I guess I haven't read the entirety of the negotiation.
So you're aware that that's private money that they're talking about, right?
What would that matter? That would still be good, right?
How would they guarantee $500 billion in private investment into the United States?
Because
how would the EU do that?
The EU, how would the
I'd say, hey, guess what we're gonna do?
United States guarantee that?
No, how would the EU guarantee that?
The EU would have to fall through on what they signed via the treaty, or the United States would rescind it. Then they'll increase tariffs again.
Okay, so we don't have a guarantee, right?
No, we do have a guarantee. They've claimed that they guaranteed it. Again, the numbers I'm looking at is,
you can't
You can take a shit in a box and put a guarantee. Wouldn't you rather take my word for it?
guarantee, Rob. You can't guarantee private money.
it's not just private money. There's two.
So now notice that he does not know. Yet again, he does not know what he's talking about. He has had to ask for the information from Rob, and now he's trying to argue the information that Rob gave him to Rob without knowing what information he's even arguing. Just let him say something that you know what to talk on. It's the arrogance. It's the lack of self-awareness. Like, maybe I'll stay quiet here. To think that you should be up there with Rob. What are you doing, bro?
You can't guarantee, Rob. You can't guarantee
I'm letting you guys know. I'm gonna be glazing Rob all through this because this was just a beautiful performance.
private money.
It's not just private money. There's two pools of money.
I'd like to respond. You made a bunch of points right there. I'd like to respond to this one specifically.
Well, hold up your dish scale up, because that's not actually what you mean there. You can get a good look at a steak by sticking your head up a bull's ass. But wouldn't you rather take my word for it? Holy shnikes. No, it's got to be your ass.
Rob, we have 7 trade deals. He's completed 7 trade deals, and in almost every one of them, we're paying more tariffs than we were before. This is a tax on
but didn't we just talk about, that it's a tax on the American people, but to what? To just gain more money, or to get those guarantees that Rob was just talking about?
Bills, and in almost every one of them, we're paying more tariffs than we were before. This is a tax on American consumers. Donald Trump,
how did I know he was going to say that?
Has raised taxes on American consumers, and the craziest part about it,
I thought you're a leftist. I thought taxes were good, bro.
Is this dumb bitch doesn't seem to know what a tariff is. He literally shows up on TV every day and says other countries pay it. And then he forces all the other dumb bitches that follow him to say the same dumb thing. Just for clarity.
Unlike Kamala Harris, right? Well, again, are we having the argument about Kamala Harris, or is this just a fucking cope sesh for TDS?
Rob, do other countries pay tariffs? And I'm not saying can they absorb the cost of tariffs. I'm saying who writes the check?
The person that's going to write the check would be the person that is importing.
Okay. Do you also accept that Donald Trump doesn't seem to know that, or at the very least is lying about it?
No, I think that he does know. And what he's talking about is that it'll be absorbed and the United States will make more money in other ways.
Uh-oh, the super chats are coming in on there saying, RGP, 125 views on your last video, 2 comments. That's suspect. But
that's what
that's sus. 2 comments.
Talking about is that it'll be absorbed and the United States will make more money in other ways. That's what he's talking about specifically. You mentioned there cleverly, yes, some of them could absorb. The difference is between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden type policies that would just massively increase taxes on people that are creating jobs in the United States. At least with the tariff, the burden shared on multiple people. So it would be shared on the person that is exporting from a foreign country. It would be shared on the business that is importing that. And then there could be some level of that that's shared to the consumer. However, we've seen that the inflation numbers haven't borne out, even with these tariffs. My understanding of this was that I predicted that there would be significant short-term pain that we would see as a result of Trump's tariff strategy.
As we all did, as Trump himself said, short-term pain, long-term gain. Shout out to Indy Bam. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir. We are apparently just helping this young man cope with the fact that Kamala would not have been a better president than Donald Trump is, even though Donald Trump has fallen way deep into the swamp. That, if I'm on the left, that is where I'm taking this argument, because the policy, you're not going to win on the policies. You're not going to win on the foreign policy. You're not going to win on the economics. You're not going to win on the border. You're not going to win on any of those things. But you can definitely talk about, hey, Trump promised this, and Trump said he was this guy, and now he did this, and now he did. That is where you could make the argument that, okay, maybe Trump promised all these great things and Kamala didn't. But what Kamala promised, she would have delivered on. You could make that argument. But you didn't. And you can't.
Understanding of this was that I predicted that there would be significant short-term pain that we would see as a result of Trump's tariff strategy. But the status quo is not sustainable because the manufacturing class in this country.
Did we ever get back to defining the status quo?
Particularly blue-collar people in the Rust Belt were becoming more and more disheveled and losing these opportunities. And we were relying on places like China for things that are important for our national security. And
speaking of super chats, guys, don't forget, it is a peanut butter night. It is a peanut butter night. We can get some peanut butter from Morty. And if we hit 15 supers or a $50 total, then these puny arms got to get a little bit of a workout. I was hungover the other day, so I haven't moved, and I might need that from you.
So Trump realized that our negotiating leverage will never be better than it is right now and decided to negotiate these trade deals. And he's getting deals that people are shocked by how good they are. Even people like on places like CNBC that traditionally wouldn't favor him are admitting that this EU trade deal was amazing. And we still haven't seen massive inflation or anything of that nature.
Yeah, so 2 responses to that. I think saying I've watched CNBC, I've covered it. I don't know who over at CNBC is saying it's an amazing trade deal. I think that they kind of like it.
Mr. Wonderful has been all over CNBC talking about how it's a great deal.
The Yale Budget Lab did an analysis of Trump tariffs, and this is going to cost middle-class consumers on average $5,000 a year. This is a tax increase on the middle class, and this pace means that by the end of Trump's term, middle-class Americans are going to lose $20,000 in purchasing power. Now, you mentioned inflation, and I think it's fucking brilliant that you brought that up. I think you were right, by the way, when you said that these tariffs would lead to short-term results. And I think that actually that logic.
That's not what he said. Short-term, that they would result in short-term pains or short-term something like that. And so yet again, I want to see where he was going with it. But he's saying,
did an analysis of Trump tariffs. And
so the Yale Budget Lab did an analysis of the tariffs.
This is going to cost middle-class consumers on average $5,000 a year.
Okay, $5,000 a year times 4, big brain. That is, in fact, $20,000. Compared to what? Compared to what? That doesn't mean anything without a grounding or referential factor.
This is a tax increase on the middle class. And this pace means that by the end of Trump's term, middle class Americans are going to lose $20,000 in purchasing power. Now, you mentioned inflation, and I think it's fucking brilliant that you brought that up. I think you were right, by the way, when you said that these tariffs would lead to short-term results. And I think that actually that logic was unflawed. If Trump was going to use these tariffs momentarily to negotiate as a strategy, then yeah, it would be short-lived. But the reason that we haven't seen inflation is because Trump's a pussy and he keeps backing out and he never puts the tariffs in. He literally just backed out on China again today.
It's almost like they were a negotiation tactic.
He keeps backing out and he never puts the tariffs in. He literally just backed out on China again today. But as we start to see some tariffs hitting, which we are seeing, we're starting to see a rise in pricing. We're starting to see it now. And this is going to come at the cost of middle class consumers. So I just want to be clear, while Donald Trump says that his tax policies are for the middle class, they are the ones that are getting a $5,000 tax increase
compared to
at a time they cannot afford it.
So one, inflation.
So Rob's gonna go off now. So gotta get in when I can get in there because he's gonna eat it up. That's not what I meant. I didn't mean that as a fat joke. I just meant he's gonna cook and eat and don't do that. Shit, what did you just say now?
That are getting a $5,000 tax increase at a time they cannot afford it.
So what the complete argument that RTP would have to make here is that if Kamala was in office, she would have done this, and it would have been better than the $5,000 a year. But you didn't do that. And exactly, you showed how, yeah, he backed out after we got what we wanted, which is what the tariff strategy was meant to do.
Bingo.
It's almost like it worked.
They are the ones that are getting a $5,000 tax increase at a time they cannot afford it.
So one, inflation was far worse under Joe Biden, and none of the Democrats that are complaining about.
Now, did I look up any inflation charts? Did I look up anything? Or am I just paying attention to stuff and can see that doesn't fucking make any sense? Again, I am very glad that there are people like both of them who do know the numbers and who are willing to spend time looking into the numbers like that. But a lot of this is common fucking sense until you really drill down into a specific policy. Then these things you're talking about a whole region, whether it's a county, a country, or whatever. And so the notion that you have to know this specific number it's an over-intellectualization. That's not how politics was meant to, that's not what the founding fathers envisioned. That everybody has to spend 7 hours a day reading 9 million different articles and watching 7 different live streams, or else you don't get to talk.
What?
No.
Time they cannot afford it.
So one, inflation was far worse under Joe Biden, and none of the Democrats that are complaining about this seem to care. Second, their strategy of taxing more to people would have meant that those prices would have been passed down to middle-class consumers, as we could see happens all over the place. And third, these experts that you're talking about actually predicted that we would already start to see massive levels of inflation. Many of them were predicting we would see that by July. That didn't occur. The inflation numbers still that we've seen, the most recent ones, are still lower.
Where's your Gish Gallop one? Come on, Gish Gallop's got to be next because he said more than one sentence, and we know that a leftist can't handle more than one sentence.
Than on average of Joe Biden, and they're right about what we would expect in normal times. Now, it could be the case that we'll start to see some more inflationary pressures. In fact, I think if Jerome Powell lowers rates, we're more likely to see, which Trump wants to do, we're more likely to see inflation. However, I think that the status quo, which I'll ask you point blank at the end of this question, was not sustainable. We can't afford to rely on places like China for manufacturing that's so important, such as our personal protective equipment when it comes to viruses, ammunition, other things that if we ever get into conflict with China, we can't rely on them, and we can't continue to see the erosion of the manufacturing and middle class in this country. And so something radical needed to change.
Because they're fucking ching-chongs.
And I think that was good. Because it's bad for the people that enjoy those sorts of jobs, and we would rely on countries to the manufacturing that's necessary for our country to survive that we may be at war with someday.
Can you, maybe he was just asking because he wants to see where Rob was going to go that, but if it was a genuine, I don't understand why that would be a bad thing, that you can't fathom that in the most conspiratorial worst case scenario that we're at war with China and we're buying masks from them and they just sprinkle fentanyl on all of our masks. That's why.
We would rely on countries to the manufacturing that's necessary for our country to survive that we may be at war with someday.
Why is it necessary for our country to survive to onshore manufacturing?
Because
necessary for our country to survive to onshore manufacturing.
Survive to onshore manufacturing. Do you mean why do we need to survive through having manufacturing in this country?
Why is it necessary for our country to survive to onshore manufacturing?
Because two reasons. One, let's do them slow, one by one. Relying on China for things like steel, ammunition, etc., when they are our biggest geopolitical rival, means that we will be under their heel if we ever go to war. Your response?
Oh, so he really didn't understand that.
My response is, why don't we just not go to war with them?
Okay, so
nobody's laughing. I thought that was a joke. Why don't we just not go to war? Oh, great idea! Great idea! Stop voting for the fucking people who want to send us to war, you fucking dumbass!
or your response?
My response is, why don't we just not go to war with them?
Okay, so what if they then decide to pressure us because they know we can't go to war with them, and we rely on them?
I don't think destroying our economy on the fear that one day China,
Destroyed.
who was not very aggressive, you look around the world, like China's not like us. They're not out there fighting a new war every fucking 12 minutes. China seems pretty restrained. I have real fear.
Which is all the more reason we, what is it? Sun Tzu, know thine enemy. A-Film said, awesome. Somebody get a massage to Ukraine, not go to war with Russia. Pretty much. That's his argument. Pretty much.
Fighting a new war every fucking 12 minutes. China seems pretty restrained. I have real fears of China coming over here and starting a war with us. So I don't think the fear mongering of we have to reshore American manufacturing because maybe one day China will come get us is a compelling argument. We've survived pretty well with
another fact check from one of the super chats here. Said RTP 125,000 views. 2 comments on the last video. Only 16K subs. Sus. The usual metric that I use is 1/10. So if you have 100,000 subscribers, then typically you can expect, what did I say? 100,000 subscribers, you can expect 10,000 views and 1,000 likes and about 10 comments. That's a very, very vague thing that I've seen kind of map out. I'm gonna say, whoa, what a response. He also probably thinks men shouldn't RP. Yup. Maybe you should. I thought he was joking. I honestly thought that was a joke.
Day China will come get us is a compelling argument. We've survived pretty well with
I drive without a seatbelt all the time. I've been doing so well so far. So why do we need seatbelts?
Manufacturing going to China.
Okay, cool. I guess we could say the same with Russia. Let's just not go to war with Russia or any other country. It's a fool's gambit to suggest that our biggest geopolitical rival, that we should just say, as long as we never go war with them, they'll never pressure us, that we become totally reliant. I think that's a childish view that you have there. Second argument is because...
I didn't say totally reliant. Don't reframe it. Don't lie when you reframe shit. I said we don't have to onshore all manufacturing.
Secondly, manufacturing.
Right?
So wait. Okay, say it there again. So because again, I'm very open about the fact that these guys are definitely more in the weeds of the facts than I am. So when they're saying, he was kind of stuttering there, so I don't know if he was saying onshore manufacturing, what exactly that was.
Childish view that you have there. Second argument is because...
I didn't say totally reliant. Don't reframe it. Don't lie when you reframe shit. I said we don't have to onshore all manufacturing.
That's not what you said. You said, why do we have to survive as a country on onshore factory?
Secondly, manufacturing.
Right? No, Rob, can we get on the same page real quick?
No,
I mean, RTP, we're trying, brother. We are trying.
I'm interested.
I'm tired of the dishonest reframing. I said that we don't have to onshore American manufacturing, and you said rely totally. Can we at least be honest about the way that how dishonestly you frame everything?
No, because I'm this close to running it back because I'm pretty sure he said something when he was stuttering. Remember, I stopped that and I was, I'm not sure. Does he mean this? Does he mean that? You know what I mean? I'm making fun of him and whatever, but you know, I'm trying to break this down in good faith. And so he said, so let's do this. Let's do this. Fuck it. We're going back 1, 24, 26, and let's do the transcript. Where is it? And we had to no, onshore. Come on. You said
jobs, and we would rely on countries to the manufacturing that's necessary for our country to survive that we may be at war with someday.
Why is it necessary for our country to survive to onshore manufacturing?
that's what you said. That's what you said. So you could argue that, oh, I was not very clear and I was stuttering. And so when Rob was trying to rephrase it, not reframe it, then he got a couple of the words mixed up. Let me clarify for you. Why should a country survive? You didn't understand exactly what I said?
Stupid. How dare you?
Manufacturing, and you said rely totally. Can we at least be honest about the way that, how dishonestly you frame everything?
Projection! And he came with the receipts, baby.
No, what we'll do is I'll say that the way that this was framed initially was that we would rely on them like ammunition, steel, and things of that nature. Now, you didn't seem to dispute that. You said we don't have to onshore all manufacturing. That's a different claim. The only person that's been dishonest in their framing this entire debate has been you, who, including from your very first economic statistics that you suggested, we went through point by point how you were misleading people and what they said. You've continued to do so the entire debate. I'm tired of your whining and complaining to me because you have this thought in your head that
Why is that funny? You are literally whining and complaining. Jay, come in, please. Jay, come in, please. Why is that funny to you? That is what
I'm tired of your whining and complaining to me because you have this thought in your head that I'm doing what it's actually you that's doing. Nonetheless,
projection.
The manufacturing sector, we can see that there's been a hollowing out of the manufacturing sector in this country. And as that's happened, we've seen that there has been more of a wealth divide. The middle class is eroding in this country that you claim to care about, and bringing manufacturing back in real jobs as opposed to just jobs in the financial sector would be key in bringing back that middle class dream.
Yeah, this is Republican dipshittery at its finest. This is Ronald Reagan trickle.
Where's the ad hominem sign? Where's the ad hominem sign? Oh yeah, just bullshit. So that's a signal to anybody out there. If you thought whatever Rob said made sense, it's right wing. So it's offshore. I mean, bad.
Stupid.
You don't. I mean, come on. Shout out to Equality and Deference because vagina. Coming in from Rambo. Welcome to the party. Said good evening. Liked and shared. Yes, liked and shared. Thank you, guys. Very, very much. You guys know how much that stuff really helps. And again, it is free. It is easy. It does not even matter if you think that YouTube, Rumble, X, or anywhere else that you put the link. It doesn't even matter. If you think people are going to click on that link just by telling the platform that you want more people to see it, that will show it to more people. Thank you so very much, and welcome to the party. We are breaking down a bit of a painful debate, but we are learning a lot. Welcome.
Class stream.
Yeah, this is Republican dipshittery at its finest. This is Ronald Reagan trickle-down economics, a failed fucking experiment for 50 years. You know when we started to see the massive increase in wealth inequality?
When Biden was in office.
When we introduced trickle-down economics. And you're a smart enough guy to know that if you draw a correlation between trickle-down economics and wealth inequality, it's a far better line than offshoring American manufacturing. Yes.
Did he make the claim that it wouldn't be? I don't even really know exactly what that even is. But that was a claim that Rob didn't make. So you're saying you would say this. Well, maybe he would, given the opportunity. You're trying to. It's so odd. It's been the most intriguing thing of my life to see. Like, I thought it was just one person here or there, but you see that it is a left wing mentality. And I'm still trying to work out exactly what it is, because I've had my I play for different sides of the fence when it comes to politics. I got my atheist debates that I don't really do so much anymore. But and then there's the political side. And, there's very different issues with arguing against a Christian and arguing against a leftist. I don't know. I would rather argue against a Christian, even though it's not ever going to go anywhere. At least they usually have some substance that they're trying to talk about. Hey, shout out to Indy Bam. Said chunky or smooth, of course. Smooth. Gotta go down nice and smooth. That's right. It is a peanut butter night. That's 1 out of 15 donations and 2 out of $50 total. Thank you, sir. And of course, that also means push-ups if we hit the goal. Shout out to our new sponsor. Thank you. Let's dive right back in.
Quality. It's smart enough guy to know that if you draw a correlation between trickle-down economics and wealth inequality, it's a far better line than offshoring American manufacturing. Yes, sometimes they go together because it turns out when we let rich people keep more of them.
Is this one of those times, RTP? Is this one of those times or no?
American manufacturing. Yeah, sometimes they go together because it turns out when we let rich people keep more of their money and we give them more access to our government and we allow them to lobby our government, then they want to make as much money as they possibly can. And so undoing trickle-down economics, going back to the progressive...
You just said it was bad.
Tax policies that built this country, that built the American working class that our parents and our grandparents grew up in, and they had I guess the good fortune to grow up during that time. We could go back to those progressive tax policies, but we can't because Republicans are such cucky bitches to the 1% that you guys think if we tax these folks, then the whole world will collapse. It's trickle-down economics that's causing this wealth inequality, and you would be hard-pressed to make a compelling argument that the offshoring of American manufacturing is what has driven wealth inequality. That's insane.
Nobody has claimed that. You just claimed that the tariffs were completely irrelevant to that. The reason we were doing that was to bring manufacturing back to this country. Nobody has ever said that's the most important thing in the world and the country won't survive. You said the word survive. Maybe he literally is projecting his own self saying survive and onshoring and manufacturing. Maybe he is literally projecting that onto him, and he thinks that was Rob that made that argument. That was you, homie. That was you.
Argument that the offshoring of American manufacturing is what has driven wealth inequality. That's insane, Rob.
I disagree with that. I do have a question to ask you, though.
Then back it up.
Okay, I have a question to ask you. The companies that will have to pay, you said that it's the United States that'll pay that tax, correct? People in the United States. Can you explain who that would pay the tariffs?
Anybody who's importing something.
Okay, so those would be businesses. Is it traditionally poor people that import things or wealthier people that own businesses?
Not poor. Not
Okay,
necessarily wealthy, but not poor.
Okay, so then my question to you is...
So how is this not a tax on the upper class? Even if you're saying upper middle class to upper class, make it make sense. Quality said, wealth inequality is leftist dipshittery and saggy tiny fuckery. The inequality is not relevant. What matters is the upregulating of standard of living. Elon can have 1 billion times as we'll come back to that. All right. But sounds like quality's cooking. Okay, we got it. So take two. We'll start from the equality is not relevant. What matters is the upregulating of standard of living. Elon can have 1 billion times as much wealth as me, but as long as I can live well, it matters not a whit. Dilly. And so this may be a weird dot to connect, and I might just be wrong. Well, I might just be wrong, but this type of now I don't necessarily about wealth inequality itself. I do believe that there is an issue with the disparity of wealth being so large that it creates different cultures. I do think that is an issue. But as Equality said, if that issue is not created because of that gap, then I would agree with him. And then oh yeah. So this is reminding me of the No Child Left Behind type of mentality. I understand that was a George Bush thing, but stick with me. That because there are poor people, we have to do X, Y, and Z that's going to hurt everybody, but it will help those poor people. Meanwhile, bring everybody else down. Just like with No Child Left Behind, where they have the standardized testing and they just, kind of no child is left behind, even though maybe they should be left behind and get the resources or money or time that they need. Does that make sense? I know it's not perfect, but I think I made sense.
Traditionally poor people that import things or wealthier people that own businesses?
Not poor. Not
Okay, so
necessarily wealthy, but not poor.
Okay, so then my question to you is, if you say that those people that have to pay those import taxes will pass in the form of
Not one like on any film super chat. God
tariffs,
damn.
will pass them along to the consumers, then why, if instead we just tax them outright without a tariff, wouldn't they also pass that along to the consumer?
Tax who outright?
If you're saying that there are these wealthy business owners that are importing things that are going to be tariffed and they'll pass that cost on to the consumer, if instead of doing tariffs, we just massively increase their taxes, why wouldn't they also pass that on to the consumer?
Well, are you talking about income tax or are you talking about the corporate tax?
It doesn't really matter. If they have to pay more money for whatever reason, and you say they're going to pass that cost on, then what is the difference between them having to pay more from a tariff and passing that on, or them getting a tax rate or a tax hike and passing that on? Different, but same.
Why wouldn't they also pass that on to the consumer?
Well, are you talking about income tax or are you talking about the corporate tax?
Doesn't matter. Any tax whatsoever.
Well, income tax is that's a silly thing because the richest people in this country don't pay income tax. They mostly pay capital gains tax. Most of them don't take a large salary. The richest people in this country avoid taxes at all costs.
So about the question that you were asked,
we're talking about I wouldn't raise taxes on anybody whose income is less than $400,000 if I was in charge.
Okay, so how many people that didn't really answer my question? Those wealthy people.
Sorry, what's
now,
the question?
The question.
he's not even paying attention. He ain't even paying attention.
How many people that didn't really answer my question? Those wealthy people.
Sorry, what's
now,
the question?
The question was, if wealthy people now having to pay tariffs would pass that along to the consumer, then why wouldn't, if you increase people's taxes, wouldn't the people you're increasing pass it along to the consumer?
Great point. Because the answer is they would. And so then if there is a secondary purpose of the tariffs that help Americans of any class, but especially lower class Americans, and then there's a different policy that you're advocating for where they're still going to pass the pay increase to the consumer, then why don't we go with the one where we get some extra stuff? Sound like I'm making sense to me? Well, I said tax, like electricity or labor, is simply a cost of production, and it will get passed on the, I don't know what that is, and it sounds dirty, so I'm not going to say it, but.
It'd be hard to show that it's just wealthy people that are like, I think that the people who are being hurt the most by this are not wealthy people. This is evidenced by like Tim Cook went and gave Donald Trump a really pretty iPhone and Trump carved out an exception for him. You see Amazon gets exceptions carved out for them. Nike has exceptions. Google has exceptions. Apple has exceptions.
Yeah, because Kamala Harris definitely wouldn't have any corporate donors like that.
Nvidia has exceptions. All the richest among us are the ones that are avoiding all of this. It's the
What does that have to do with Kamala?
middle class that's really suffering the most. And even if you want to talk about like total, like we'd have to pull the numbers. I would guess that you're probably right that it like that rich people pay a higher percentage of this. But it's the mom and pop shops that are closing that can't afford these kind of margins. They can't negotiate tiny margins and operate off 1 or 2%.
Okay,
Those are the people that are hurting.
your argument is that how much more revenue do you
So again, when he says your argument is, this is something that I struggle with as well, because people don't like when you do this. But your argument is, when he says that, he's presenting it as a question. He's essentially saying, I just want to be sure you're saying this. And then if that's incorrect, then no. What I was actually saying is that. Not, oh, you're trying to straw man me or reframe the argument.
Off 1 or 2%.
Okay,
Those are the people that are hurting.
your argument is that how much more revenue do you think we need? Because you also would want a bunch of, and I think we could tie this into Kamala Harris as well. She would want a bunch of new spending programs.
Oh, yeah.
You say you would only tax people more that make over $400,000. How much more revenue does the United States need to do to end this trickle-down economics? Like per year, what would you suggest?
Like how much? Well, we just have to start reducing deficit spending. Like we've got to get to at least revenue neutral.
Okay, so how much would that require per year if we don't create one more program?
I would have to do them. Are we doing with like compound interest? I'd have to do the math. I don't know if you've done the math on that.
I will just say this: you said you would only increase taxes on people that are making more than $400,000 a year. How much would you increase the taxes on those people?
100%.
I would take the take the capital gains tax to somewhere around like 25%, and I think you take the top corporate tax of 21 to 28%.
Okay, so
28% on money that you've already paid taxes.
How much money
And
do you
then,
think
and then
that would
back,
raise?
and then back to 37%. I think I have some of those numbers written down here. Let me see.
How much money how much money would your tax policy that you're recommending, how much would that raise a year?
So so if you're watching this, and we were before talking about like every other sentence that RTP was asking for sources and asking, if it seems like the same thing is happening, that Rob now is just kind of throwing stuff out there, I don't know. I think I saw past this part when I was on the thing anyway, but it seems like he's building an argument. It doesn't seem like he's just reaching and grasping for straws. I could be wrong, but it does seem like he's going somewhere.
How much money would your tax policy that you're recommending?
Shout out to Sarah. I said, I like how silent the chick is. So sexy. She is the moderator.
How much would that raise a year?
Yeah, I have this. So the CBO scored the 2025 budget, which was the one Harris was running on, saying it would reduce budget deficits by 1.4 trillion between 2025 and 2034, which is at the same time Trump is increasing deficits by 5 trillion. So it's about a difference of like $6 trillion, or no, $5 trillion.
It wouldn't matter if Trump's increasing it. Kamala Harris's plan, you said we would need to get to deficit zero. So if I believe this CBO, which I don't believe that. I think that you're probably misleading the data because that's probably that. Let me finish. Is that comprehensive of the plan she wanted to add minus the tax revenue that she was putting in?
Oh, are we finally bringing Kamala Harris into the equation of would Kamala Harris be better?
And so then how much was she going to increase the tax burden according to that CBO plan?
Like receipts? Are you looking at total receipts?
Yes. Like, I don't know exactly the way they would phrase it. I'm not going to claim to understand the exact language they would use. My question is, clearly Democrats like Kamala Harris, they wanted more social programs. And so the idea that they were going to spend more, but lower the deficit by 1.4 trillion
don't make no sense.
Dollars, that would have to be a massive increase in the tax burden.
Yeah, it was for so the Yale Budget Lab scored this. If you don't like the CBO, we can.
And she got on. She was on board with no tax on tips. So where's that tax coming from?
So the Yale Budget Lab scored this. If you don't like the CBO, we can look at the Yale Budget Lab. They are a little more conservative. They scored $1 trillion in reductions, and the net deficit reduction results from 2.6 trillion in gross costs and 4 trillion in gross savings from the proposals within the 2025 proposal.
So they would spend 4 trillion in taxes. That was the argument, that they would raise revenues 4 trillion.
It's in gross savings. So it's essentially yeah.
Okay, so we're going to raise an additional 4 trillion in taxes a year from just people that make over 400,000.
No, not just people that make. It's also corporations. It's the 400,000 is income tax, but you also have capital gains kicks in at 25%. I think was hers at $100 million. I think.
Okay, but I would assume that there's a
lot.
At
100 million, you're going to get a tax increase. That's pretty fair.
Okay, so how many people would that be that are sharing this increased burden?
I don't know.
Like just people that make
pull it from the Yale Budget Lab.
I mean, just the people that make over 400,000. I think there's where did I see this? 2.8 million. So 2.8 million people are going to contribute to 4 trillion. That's, if my math's correct, that would be about 1.6 million of taxes a year increased on these people.
Damn.
Could be. I don't know. You'd have.
Sounds popular. Sounds like it would make America a whole lot better than what we have right now.
You go look at the Yale.
And you don't think they would pass that on to working class people?
Well, there's also part of what Harris also wanted to do is
notice how we didn't answer the question.
Class people.
Well, there's also part of what Harris also wanted to do is control prices. But yeah, you potentially could have that passed along to customers.
Yes, and a great argument. You're right. Forgive me, I forgot we're comparing Trump to Kamala. You're right. Harris did want to institute price controls, and we could see the failures of that all over the place. Right now,
show me a place where grocery price controls failed. And not it was profit control, right? So it was margins. It wasn't like you can't operate at a loss. It was saying your margins could be 10%. Can you show me?
Yes, price. Can you show me a place they've worked?
Oh, you just made the claim that they wouldn't work.
Yes, they wouldn't. Every time we see these communist policies where we tell private businesses how much they're allowed to charge, we see a rich history of these sort of things failing.
See how we do this
in the Soviet.
Right. So if you make a statement that says, I don't know, if you make a statement that says they don't work, and he says, well, they do work, The burn, yeah, burns on you, Rob. Burns on you, man.
Private businesses, how much they're allowed to charge. We see a rich history.
But don't, if you are in the debate and you realize, oh no, technically the burden of proof is on me, that doesn't mean that, of course, you want to be in good faith. But once you've gotten down this far down the hole with somebody who's not in good faith and you're playing the debate game, then, act like you phrased it and the burden of proof is on them. Quality said, the rich, don't you get it? If we consistently give the rich an unlubed ass fucking, it's not like they would leave and take their productivity with them. Yep. And I mean, are we expecting that a tax rate would be so bad that like all of the richest people in America are just leaving to other countries? I don't think so. I don't think so. But enough that it matters.
History of these sort of things
You
failing
see how we do this?
in the Soviet Union, for example, they
I
failed.
ask you a question and you just throw it back at me. Why?
Gotcha. He got you
Why
there.
don't you answer that question, Rob?
Okay, I will show you evidence
Thank
of when price controls failed.
For groceries, right? Because that's what we're talking about with Harris.
Now you're already moving the goalpost. You're already moving the goalpost. We said price controls don't work. And so he's like, all right, prove it. Okay. Tappity tap. I'm going to prove it. Well, but grocery stores, right? Just the grocery stores.
For
You're right. The Bernie Sanders, I think bread lines are a good thing. Right. We get it.
It's another cute quip by you while you don't defend a fucking thing.
Let's see.
Another check on RTP's channel. RTP 4,000 on YouTube. Rob's made money. Okay, so $4,000 from RTP on YouTube. Rob's made 22,000. Oh man, in a 30-day period. Anytime you guys want to show the fuck up.
World War II, Canada, 1939 to 1945. Strict price controls on groceries led to rationing and long lines. Black markets emerged. Food quality declined as retailers sold inferior goods at controlled prices. True inflation was likely 48 to 70%. United States, 70. Let me finish.
Come on, Rob. You can't read like other people can see what you're reading.
Prices. True inflation was likely 48 to 70%. United States, 70. Let me finish.
Hold on. No, I need to ask that question because we have to make sure. What were they controlling? Were they controlling the price or the margin?
I don't know. You tell me.
Okay, it's significantly, it makes a difference, doesn't it, Rob? Because a margin doesn't allow you to operate at a loss. A price control, like a fixed price, you can have a loss there.
I will repeat. I think that it was a disaster there. We'll read more examples and then I'll get to answering that. United States, 1971 to 74. Nixon's price and wage freeze.
So that's a fair point there where it's like, are we talking about the actual controlling the price or are we controlling the margin? Didn't get an answer from Rob there. So, okay, one L, I guess.
He's aimed to control inflation because grocery shortages. Producers cut supply due to unprofitable prices, and consumers face empty shelves and gas lines. Venezuela.
Yeah, you just said it. It's unprofitable prices.
Okay.
Kamala Harris, her proposal didn't give you unprofitable. It was allowed, or it stopped from price gouging. So you can't make a 600% markup. You're comparing things that didn't happen.
What we can see is when these price controls happen, although you could say, trust me, we will allow just profits. It would just be profits. It's impossible for the government to be that efficient to know exactly what they need to charge that would cut into their profits. And it ends up meaning that things will be unprofitable.
No.
And so again, without knowing the numbers, without knowing whatever the fuck that Rob just looked up, the notion that, oh, if the government says they won't do this, but it could go this way, that already is a bad idea. That already, to me, needs to be justified. Because the natural entropy of anything that the government does is giving them power.
The history of price controls.
No, Rob.
All right, what's the price gouging? Show me. So give me the groceries that were at 600%. Go ahead.
So that was a hypothetical, Rob. What the price gouging was is it was saying you can't raise your price over a certain amount, right? Over your cost. So you can't go under cost. And cost, that's all in cost. So they're just saying, let's just say that you have bananas and there's a shortage on bananas. And you're like, oh, I know we're gonna have a shortage on bananas. So instead of $2 a pound, they're $12 a pound. And your cost didn't increase because we saw this during COVID. Specifically, you brought up like PPE. People were buying up in bulk PPE, and then they were selling it back at these massive markups. And that hurts our economy too. So this is a smart thing to do.
It's not.
You don't want businesses to take advantage of people in the middle of a pandemic. You want to learn from that. Why is it not?
It's just to be clear, as I said, that these things, even if you get in saying we're just not going to allow you to raise your profits, oftentimes what happens is it causes scarcity, which means that the government goes in, does more and more. The government
When you say
inefficient.
often, give me an example of that.
Okay, let me give you some examples of that. World War II, Canada, 1939 to 1945. United States, please let me finish. United States, 1971 to 74. Venezuela, 2000s to 2010s. The Bengal famine in 1700s. When the government comes in and says you can only charge this much, it leads to a disaster. Nonetheless,
this is like Rob. This is.
And so again, Rob is not even making the argument that that something. Excuse me. Rob's not even saying that the policies that were put in place, or the policies that were suggested to be put in place, were bad or would have definitely led to this. He's just looking at the past and be like, and any time before these things were done, didn't go well. Not at all. Don't forget about Morty, guys. He is starving.
Is you can only charge this much, it leads to a disaster. Nonetheless,
this is like Rob. This is pathetic even by your standards.
Projection. I'm going to assume he wasn't talking about himself.
I just told you that we're talking about margin controls and you're talking about price controls, where in your own answer, it specifically says that they were operating below profit, that they were or below cost. That's not the same thing here, Rob. Just admit you don't know. Don't read the same dumb shit again. In the answer, it says that we're not talking about margin.
Okay, then we are talking about.
It says we're talking about cost, doesn't it, Rob?
So why don't you tell me an example of when these prices?
Rob?
I don't know. I would have to read exactly what was deemed to be done. Then maybe they tried to just say we're going to stop profits, but actually those price controls didn't take into account that they were inequipped to determine what the margins would be, and it led to people. That's right. And you've yet to provide one example of where it's worked. I'm at least providing you examples of price controls not working.
So now that he has that he initially made the claim, price controls don't work. Now that he's made that claim and he has brought up evidence that, look, every time it's been tried, it doesn't work. Now the burden shifts. Now you have to argue as to why those things are not relevant, or why Kamala Harris's price gouging stuff would have been different. And it wouldn't have been.
Show me one example
of operating on like limiting the percentage that you can make.
Yes. On groceries.
On groceries? I don't know if anybody's ever done that.
Wait a minute. No, you said that I had to limit price control to groceries. That was the data that you were looking for. That's what you said. Now you're saying, well, no one's ever done it.
No, I said I don't know if they've ever done it. But the reason I brought that up.
Then what? If you don't know if anybody's ever done it, then why are you arguing against his statement that they are bad, and then requalifying that? Well, only for groceries, but it's never been done. I don't know. Well, if it has, I don't know. And so this is what I mean. That you can do a very good job of kind of dancing around numbers and policies. And if you can talk for 3 straight minutes about something that's tangentially related to what you're talking about, then it can sound like you know what you're talking about. But just because he knows more numbers than I do doesn't mean anything about anything except for the fact that he knows more of those numbers than I do.
Is because I wanted to make sure we were talking about what her actual plan was. She wasn't talking about capping.
Okay, so then do that instead, especially when Rob just set up how this argument is not in your favor. What would be different?
The price of everything. She was talking specifically about groceries. This isn't a principle that like I stand by. I'm saying that when I look.
Yeah, because you don't have any, no principles, just positions.
Look at what happened during COVID, and I looked at people who were gouging American consumers. I think that it makes perfect sense to add a control mechanism in there so that people don't gouge Americans in the middle of a crisis. I think that's just smart government. So you don't think that's good government?
No, I don't think it's good government at all. I think that when we...
Adam Smith Had it right.
Start to have these sort of price
The
controls,
invisible
they
hand.
create scarcity and lead things to spiral out of control. We could see the history of socialism doing this. Nonetheless, all of this is irrelevant to the fact that Kamala Harris's policies would have been a disaster. These sort of socialist policies would have caused all
There you
sorts
go.
of government intervention into the market that would
There you go. Get us back on track,
have been a
Rob.
disaster. We can see right now policies like this in New Jersey have actually caused the price of electricity to increase threefold since they've instituted sort of policies, socialist policies, determining what sort of electricity could be able to come. Again, I don't know if you think that you're making a point here. You're not doing very well
Oh, he does. He does. In the panel, he was like, "Hey guys, was that the thing with the signs? Was that cool?" I'm like, no, dude, it was not cool.
in this debate. Anyways,
Kamala Harris doesn't run New Jersey, so by citing
That's
New Jersey
true.
policy,
The last time I checked, Jersey born and raised. The last time I checked, the president absolutely does control New Jersey and all of the other states in the nation. What are you talking about?
doing very well in this debate. Anyways,
Kamala Harris doesn't run New Jersey, so by citing
That's
New Jersey
She's not solely, yeah, she's not the governor, but like if she was the president, she would be the president.
policies, you are using New Jersey as a straw man for Kamala Harris. If you're going to cite Kamala Harris,
That's
cite her
not what that means. That's not what that word means. You're using New Jersey as a straw man for Kamala Harris. That would mean if we took those words, that statement means that he is arguing that where the answer is actually Kamala Harris, or rather, when RTP's position is Kamala Harris, that's the position. That Rob is saying, no, your position is New Jersey. That would be strawmanning him with using New Jersey instead of Kamala Harris. You took the time to make this. Why didn't you look up what the words mean?
are using New Jersey as a straw man for Kamala Harris. If you're
The straw man is the argument that you didn't make. That's why they call it a straw man versus the steel man. So a straw man would be like if I said I love Morty, and then somebody knocked on my door and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill this dog if you don't take it right now." And I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck? I'm not taking your dog." And you're like, "Whoa! You said you love all dogs, and now you're going back on that." It's like, no, I never said that. I said I love this dog. That is a straw man. Just getting things wrong or misappropriating what you think you're talking about. That's not what those words mean. The audacity to have very feminine handwriting in a debate, and you don't even know what the word means. Oh.
going to cite Kamala Harris, cite her policy, but instead you're just picking a state where there's something you don't like. Which policy is New Jersey doing that Kamala Harris proposed?
I was citing socialist policies like this and the unintended outcomes.
not
But
a
fine,
socialist,
fine.
but
I'll cite
According to you,
cite Kamala Harris's policy banning fracking
Thank
in
you.
Pennsylvania.
She said she was against banning
No,
fracking.
she originally said she was for it.
Yeah,
Then she
once
said
she flipped on it.
never
then
said it.
changed her mind. And then she changed her mind. So I'm going to stick with her last answer, which is
Okay.
no.
Convenient.
So then
You're
what,
going to stick with her first answer, right?
no, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that it's clear that she would have
Well, yes, because there was a clear reason to change the answer after the first answer wasn't liked by people. There was no inherent reason for her to lie about her position on fracking, especially if it was an unpopular position.
Stupid.
You're just going to go with the first one. Yeah. The second one has a reason to be different.
embrace these socialist policies, and the only reason she backed off was because she know that people have more common sense than her and know
Yup.
that these policies would be a disaster.
Bingo.
Now we are straw manning hypothetical.
That's not a straw man, dude. That he doesn't know what it means. He doesn't know what it means.
Now this Rob has gotten to the point of the debate where he has nothing of value left to say. So he's straw man.
Projection. I can do it too, but I'm good at it.
A position and calling Kamala Harris a fucking socialist, which is crazy.
Yeah, that would be called an ad hominem, not a straw man.
Stupid.
So he's straw manning a position and calling Kamala Harris a fucking socialist, which is crazy because like she literally, and my biggest complaint with Biden and her is they brought in corporations, like they were in bed with the corporations. These were corporatists.
Oh, you mean like the same exact thing that you were complaining about Trump from before with the guarantees? Meaning that at the very best, it would be exactly the same?
Stupid.
Call Kamala Harris is a socialist makes me feel like you have no idea what socialism is. It means that you're doing the same thing that Republican pundits always do, Rob. You run to socialism because it's a security blanket for you. You know to your audience that if you scream socialism, they'll wet their pants and agree with you, but you don't have any real good arguments right now because you're just straw manning Kamala as a socialist.
Price controls are socialism. Next, we'll move on to the next topic, immigration.
Yes, that is what you do. That is what you do. Good job, Rob.
Immigration. We could see that crossings are ridiculously down. In some cases, 97% down to under the Kamala Harris-Biden high points. Remember, Kamala
Wasn't there certain days where there was 0 crossings?
Harris was said to be one of the people that was a key advisor to Trump or to Biden on the border.
The border czar. The border czar. I remember because I hadn't heard that word since like college.
Remember, Kamala Harris was said to be one of the people that was a key advisor to Trump or to Biden on the border. So the border is much more secure, and we've stopped seeing millions of people pouring in that are illegals because of that. That's obviously a good thing.
Pretty big deal.
Do you think came in during the Biden administration?
Well,
probably 50 million.
When it looks, we could look at the actual data from sort of immigration studies, Department of Homeland Security. There were on total encounters, the majority of which got in, I believe, was 10.3 million from February 2021 to January 2025. This includes 9.3 million apprehensions, which were typically illegal crossings, and about 1.2 million inadmissible migrants. Over 48 months, the average is 214,583 encounters per month.
200,000 per month.
So you understand that that number you decided means 1
It's very big.
million came in, right?
No, that's not true. If
Okay,
you're
I would not. Wait, what?
That number you decided means 1 million came in, right?
200
month,
200 million times 12 is not 1 million. I'm worse at math than I am at politics, but shit. I'll just say 2. Yeah, 2. Yeah, that'd be 2.4 billion. But I mean, what are we talking about? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? There's 12 months in a year. Reminds me of this girl. There's this page on a TikTok where it's this fucking hilarious couple, and the girl always acts like really stupid, and it'll be the guy, like they'll be in the car, and the guy will be like, "Baby, what did you just say?" And like they're talking, and she was talking about, "Oh my goodness, I just learned that I might get diabetes." And he's like, "What? What are you talking about?" It's like, I heard that you can get tattoo diabetes. He was like, wait. Tattoo diabetes? Yeah, you're like 80% more likely to get diabetes. Obviously, she's talking about type 2. Point being, RTP is about that level of intelligence.
48 months, the average is 214,583 encounters per month.
So you understand?
Over 48 months. Okay, all right. Okay, hold on. Maybe I was wrong. Well, wait, no, what? But then it would be even more. Now we're talking about 10 billion. What? I thought we were talking about 1 year. He said over 48 months. And he said 200,000 times 48 months is 1 million. Okay, dude. Shout out to King Nirvana. Welcome to the party. Is that no? This is Sarah, the Raging Tomato. She moderates all this stuff.
214,583 encounters per month.
So you understand that that number you decided means 1 million came in, right?
No, that's not true.
Okay, what's an encounter, Rob? How do we define an encounter?
An encounter is someone that crossed the border into the country that was met by Border Patrol, ICE, etc.
What's 200,000 times 48, bro?
Anywhere within a 100-mile radius of the border, right?
Correct. Yes.
Shout out to Waco Mine. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya. So does anyone mention that AIPAC is part of the equation in American politics? From what we've seen, it was a red flag for many voters, both parties. Yeah, I think so much so that most people aren't really going to be like, AIPAC is not part of the equation. I think, I think on both sides of, we'll call it the Zionist, I think, people who are pro-Israel would be very happy to be like, of course we support AIPAC. AIPAC supports Israel. And then all the Jews people would be like, oh my God, that's got to be AIPAC. So yeah, I think everybody would, oh yeah, word up. And we got our boy Zippy, SME. What show just ended that you guys just came into? Welcome.
Is met by Border Patrol, ICE, etc.
Anywhere within 100-mile radius of the border, right?
Correct. Yes.
And those people, it's any encounter. So these people could have been here. They could have crossed over. It could just be any encounter. It could be the same person 500 times, right?
Theoretically, it could be the same person 500 times. Right.
Okay, but
are you arguing that's what it is?
When you just read those numbers, you cited encounters, and then you cited a number of apprehensions, and then there was a number right after that was like 1.2 million. That's the number.
I got you on a number. Therefore, Trump is not as good as Kamala at the border. What are we doing?
Number of illegal immigrants that came in.
No,
the rest of the people that came to our border were legal immigrants here on us.
They said the magic word. So they're not illegal. How did I not see that one coming? How did I? This stupid is for me.
Stupid.
How did I not see that coming?
Legal immigrants that came in.
No,
the rest of the people that came to our border were legal immigrants here on asylum claims.
It doesn't matter. The people that came here under asylum claims still show the problem with our open border. The fact that they were left in, the majority of them never were processed to be allowed to stay here for asylum. And it was a system that was being intentionally abused.
He hasn't had that goalpost in a single place for this entire time.
100% agree.
Yes, it was being intentionally abused. That was the system. And so now those numbers have curtailed tremendously, and that is clearly a good thing for this country in a litany of reasons we could get into if you like.
Well, this is where we have a fundamental disagreement, I think. I'm guessing. Maybe we agree on this. I can see that Donald Trump's actions have led to less people coming to the border. I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. One is a strong presence. Two is that the humanitarian crises that were caused by COVID, those are mostly over. We've kind of stopped meddling, like Venezuela. A lot of that was our own fault. Why we had a bunch of Venezuelans here. But I would also say that what Donald Trump has done if you like these policies, can be completely undone. Because the thing I don't like about what he's doing is he's choosing to do it outside of Congress. Like, we're not changing our asylum laws.
I wonder if that has anything to do with the last 30 years of the executive branch doing that. Are you, again, this is about Kamala Harris and the comparison to Donald Trump. Are you claiming that you genuinely think that if Kamala Harris was the president, that she would be using less executive orders and that would be a good thing? Is that what you're saying? Because that's the only framing of this where that would matter.
If you like these policies, can be completely undone. Because the thing I don't like about what he's doing is he's choosing to do it outside of Congress. Like, we're not changing our asylum laws. So if somebody comes across here now and they seek asylum, one of two things happens. They either are granted the asylum claim, or this administration goes against our own asylum laws. Those are the two options that we have. Either they're allowed to claim asylum, or this administration is unilaterally bypassing Congress to do kind of whatever the fuck they want. I agree it's effective. I don't like how we're doing it. I don't like the precedent that it sets. I don't like that we're ruling by executive.
If you are just joining us, this is what you missed.
It's effective. I don't like how we're doing it. I don't like the precedent that it sets. I don't like that we're ruling by executive order here.
I don't like the fact that Joe Biden, by fiat and rescinding executive orders, allowed these massive things to increase.
How about the fucking auto pen?
And I also...
Bro, what do you mean? This whole debate is it's comparing two things. You can't be mad that we're comparing the thing that you came here to debate. That's not a whataboutism.
It's not whataboutism. Are we not comparing the Kamala Harris and Joe Biden administration to the Trump administration?
You're not allowed to talk about Kamala Harris or Joe Biden at all. You have to talk about why Trump would be better than Kamala Harris without mentioning anyone except Donald Trump.
What? Stupid.
it's not whataboutism. Are we not comparing the Kamala Harris and Joe Biden administration to the Trump administration? Is that not what we were doing? So your claim is when I point out the failures of the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden administration and how they allowed these people in by rescinding executive orders, that's whataboutism, even though that's literally the topic of the debate. That's your claim?
The issue is that you never address what I say. You just literally say, you just...
Projection. I've called you out every single time, RTP, and I called Rob out when he did it. The one time. I called Rob out when he got something wrong. The one time. But you've been doing that nonstop, dude. Nonstop.
That's your claim?
The issue is that you never address what I say. You just literally say, you just go straight to whataboutism. It's literally like talking to like a random Republican word generator. Not once have you ever responded to it.
And homonym. So whataboutism? This apple, that's the same as that apple, is exceptionally different than that apple. Well, that's whataboutism. Wait, guys, do you think Kamala would have more or less organized protests than Trump against their respective policies? That's a good question. I don't know. I think it would depend on the degree. So what I mean by that is I think that generally the right side of the aisle, so to speak, is you typically have people who, work jobs, have families, have stuff to do, can't just, be out and protesting all the time. But that being said, as we saw with January 6th, love it or hate it, if it gets that bad, people eventually will stand up and be like, no more. So I don't think that she would have I don't think she would have let it get that bad. I think that there would have been enough of the establishment holding up the vapid empty suit that she is that, I don't think so. I don't think they would, unless, what if the goal, in the same way that they just used Biden as a human blockade against Trump, that they knew Kamala, if she could win, then she wasn't going to go anywhere else. So just let her be the fall guy for everything and just do all of the worst policies and just make it all about Kamala. So if it were that, then yes, more protests. But if we are, so let's put it this way. If we see a level of bullshittery of a level 5 from Donald Trump, we're going to see a level 10 of protesting. If we see a level, let's say we call it level 8 of Kamala, then you'll probably get level 8 to 10 a protest. But likely, hopefully, if she had won, they would have kept her down in the 5-6 range, and people on the right would have, hated it, but hopefully not gotten all up in arms. Good question. Zuby said that Dude Bro Lefty is proving Dude Bros cannot debate. Facts. Yeah, they need the but that's, yeah, but I'm gonna make that a poll.
It's literally like talking to like a random Republican word generator. Not once have you ever responded to a claim. And you did this the last time we debated. You literally walked away in the debate last time. You don't listen. You're not a very good active listener. So it's frustrating to talk to you and then just have you go straight to whataboutism. It would be nice to have like a conversation where you respond to what I say without like going whataboutism. Right?
Nonetheless, your complaints on these sort of things are relevant. It is the topic at hand. When it comes to sort of executive fiat being able to solve problems, as long as it's done within a legal scope, so far the courts have said that it is predominantly legal for him to have policies like Remain in Mexico. Yeah, I agree. It would be better if Democrats weren't actively cheering for open borders and would work with Republicans, some of them who actually want the open borders as well. It would be better for the legislator to do that. Nonetheless, that's not a reason to prefer Kamala Harris over Joe Biden.
I mean, I think we already got him on a projection for that one, but why not? Quality almost making me spit my drink out. And said Cupcake has a nice laugh too. I don't know which one you were talking about, but either way, it's funny. Hurls up Harris would go full Marxist if she could. That's who Rob's voice reminds me of. Tom Likas. I don't know who that is. Anyway.
Better for the legislator to do that. Nonetheless, that's not a reason to prefer Kamala Harris over Joe Biden.
Name one Democrat that
He tried to get the Gish Callum sign up, and before he could show it, Rob was done talking. Oh, come on, man. You gotta have them ready to go. If you're gonna do this shtick, you gotta have it ready to go.
Look, in some of them who actually want the open borders as well, it would be better for the legislator to do that. Nonetheless, that's not a reason to prefer Kamala Harris over Joe Biden.
Name one Democrat that advocated for open borders.
Yeah, the ones that were fine with the border under the Biden administration.
Fine.
Kamala Harris, Joe Biden.
What did she? And she advocated for it. How?
They said that the
Surge the border
policies under the Biden administration of rescinding these executive orders and allowing tens of millions of people in were okay. That it was good. That the border was predominantly secure.
She was cheerleading open border policies.
Yeah, she was cheerleading the policies that effectively made our border basically open.
Do we not remember the debate from the previous cycle when they're like, who would allow? I don't remember the exact question, but basically, who would allow open borders? And they arms shot right up.
She was cheerleading open border policies.
Yeah, she was cheerleading the policies that effectively made our border basically open.
And by that you mean they were keeping our asylum laws as they were written, right?
They were rescinding executive orders and knowing that the asylum process, knowing that the asylum, knowing the
Rob, because what's
frustrating to you is I'm going to start doing the same as you since you're interrupting. So I'll have no problem doing that. I've been more than generous of allowing you to sort of filibuster when you feel and then to constantly interrupt me.
All right, gentlemen.
Well,
listen, we've got.
Well, she is taking a break, guys. Don't forget that we are just past the 2-hour mark. Not only does every donation get Morty a treat, but it will keep the party raging on. You can see we got a bunch more here, and if we got time, we can even go to see where I was on the panel. But let's keep it raging.
Maybe about 20 minutes left since we had some tech issues in the beginning. You were doing so good. Let's get back to good, okay?
We weren't doing good. He wasn't. I was. That's what was happening. So I'll answer the prompt as I see fit. Since we only have 20 minutes, I'll get to the other reasons that I had that Trump was good since he's not doing so good on any of these. We see, for example, what I said was the Overton window shift on a lot of these sort of woke things. This is fantastic that Trump's did that. The cultural shift is probably going to be more lasting than sort of the policy shifts that we can see that I think overwhelmingly the ones we talked about have been good with Trump.
That's not true, Waco. I mean, the entire time, Rob has been very disciplined, and whenever RTP is just going on and on and on and on and on, he hasn't really interrupted. It was just then where he exactly was saying, like, look, I've been good. I haven't been interrupting anybody. He's the one that's been going on and on and on and on and on and on, and then interrupting me when I try to answer. Like, I think literally there was one point, I forget exactly. I was scrubbing through. And I forgot what I was going to say. Well, let's dive right back in.
Then sort of the policy shifts that we could see that I think overwhelmingly the ones we've talked about have been good with Trump.
Where do you feel the Overton window shifted?
I think that it's shifting more away from this woke shit, things like transing children and other things like that are horrible.
What do you mean when you say transing children?
Like,
what do you think it means? What do you think it means? Taking a child and allowing them to go through some type of transformation and allow them to identify as trans.
For example, the idea that we should have this sort of stuff normalized in schools, the idea that we should be pushing for things like hormone blockers, trans issues, telling children,
like people being allowed to identify how they want.
Pushing that this is something to be prideful for, and instructing these things in schools.
Telling people they could be proud of who they are.
Telling people that it's something to be proud of to be trans, and instituting these things in schools. Other policies.
It would be one thing. It would be one thing if there was an organic uptick of cross-dressing people. Then that has nothing to do with the government, with the schools, with politics. Really, that has just to do with culture. You can dress however the fuck you want. But when it's being pushed from the top down that this is good, that is a bad thing. That's propaganda. It's propaganda. Zippy over on Rumble said, dude is tripling on his projection. Someone hook him up to a turbine. Free energy for all.
Can I ask a question? Why do you think the federal government should be dictating what people can and cannot be proud of?
Because
he's not. That's not what he said. And exactly what Waco was just saying. If maybe now he is getting a little sparked up because he did not say that.
Ask the question, why do you think the federal government should be dictating what people can and cannot be proud of?
Because the federal government should dictate what we're allowed to teach in public schools because my tax dollars go to it. Would you be okay if the federal, real quick, would you be okay if the federal government was teaching people for white pride and white nationalism? Would you be okay with that?
That they are allowed to be proud that they're white?
Would you be okay if the federal government said that it was okay to have curriculum of talking about white pride and teachers talking about how prideful they were of being white and celebrating their kids talking about being proud to be white?
I don't think you'd like that, homie. I don't think you'd like that one little bit. Shout out to TV Viewerski. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Very good to see ya. This is a debate from earlier this month with Rob Noerr and RTP Talks. That was supposed to be a discussion about would Kamala be better than Trump, but it's basically just been an Orange Man Bad TDS Cope session.
Teachers talking about how prideful they were of being white and celebrating their kids talking about being proud to be white. Would you be okay with that?
If somebody can say that on their own? Because I don't think there's a curriculum.
See? No. You're shifting the goalposts. What did Rob specifically say? Saying that that is something to be proud of. They are telling the children, this is something you should be proud of. Would it be okay if they were telling the children, you should be proud to be white? That's the question.
Teaching children to be trans. I think there's curriculum.
Not the question.
And I've looked at the curriculum.
Or an answer to the question.
In my state. In fact, maybe you could point to one specific I'm unaware of. These are largely done on a local level.
All boys aren't blue. The gay BCs, genderqueer, D's nuts. What was that? Give me a fifth one. What was what's the nasty one? Not genderqueer, but I don't know. Those being not only in school libraries, but propped up at the front of school libraries because, oh, wow, it's so amazing that you're telling this story about dirty tampons and men getting using dildos on little boys. No, thank you. Hey, shout out to Mom Tech. Thank you. Said just because. I mean, damn, you could say, keep the party raging. Good job, Lunch. But yeah, sure. Just I'll take it. I'm out here fucking begging for scraps. I will take it. Thank you so very much. And the party rages on.
In fact, maybe you could point to one specific I'm unaware of. These are largely done on a local level, but I've never seen a curriculum that is like, hey, we have this whole day.
So this is the same shifting. This is the same shifting as like when they'll act like, well, nobody ever said that. It's like, yeah, you didn't say I am doing this corrupt thing or the MS-13 shit. I would love to see how he interpreted the Kilmar Abrego Garcia tattoos. Well, I don't remember them ever officially saying that. No, but see, we understand how the world works, and you'd be really stupid to do that. So they hide it in semantic obfuscation, propaganda, rhetoric. Oh, there's no curriculum that says you should be trans. No shit. You think that's a win? You think that's a point in your favor? That we don't have a curriculum to teach children to mutilate their bodies? That's a win to you? Jesus.
Largely done on a local level, but I've never seen a curriculum that is like, hey, we have this whole day where we're going to talk about how it's cool to be trans. Do you have an example of like a curriculum that says that?
No.
June. Pride Month.
Day where we're going to talk about how it's cool to be trans. Do you have an example of like a curriculum that says that?
No, I don't have them in front of me right now. What I could say is that not only are their curriculum, it's not even necessarily its curriculum, it's the way that these teachers are doing things. We had policies, for example, that said that if a kid came out and said that they wanted to change their pronouns. See,
this is where Waco, it came in and you changed the whole vibe from them. Rob should be on top of this because he asked the correct question about the proud to be white. We're not talking about a curriculum. We're talking about if teachers were saying this to children. RTP, would you be okay with teachers telling children, whether there's a curriculum or there's not a curriculum, that it is okay, that you should be proud to be white? He would obviously say no. So Rob, you got to stick with that. And again, I'm not trying to pick bro anyway. I'm armchair quarterback in here. But that's what we do.
these teachers are doing things. We had policies, for example, that said that if a kid came out and said that they wanted to change their pronouns, that teachers were not obligated to tell the parents that. There was an entire discussion about
Why does it always have to be so hidden if it's so important? God damn, that's a good point, sir.
It's the way that these teachers are doing things. We had policies, for example, that said that if a kid came out and said that they wanted to change their pronouns, that teachers were not obligated to tell the parents that. There was an entire discussion about
Why should the teacher have to tell
Let
the
me
parents
finish,
that?
please. I know the impulse to interrupt is strong with you. Maybe you should
trying
hold
to
up
go
a
one
sign.
at a time,
Please
Rob.
hold up a
I'm trying
sign
to go
and
one at a
read.
time.
Please hold up a
let
sign
Rob
and read your
finish.
sign.
Let Rob
There you
finish.
go.
Remember, put the bubble in. Let Rob finish, and then you can respond to all of it.
Yes.
Remember, we talked about this already.
So go ahead and read your own sign and let actual people that know what they're talking about talk a little here. And so what we could see is there are actually policies that suggested that parents not be allowed to hear these sort of things that were being discussed in school. In addition to that, we could see that it wasn't just about the policies, it was about the ways that these teachers were interacting with children, oftentimes shoehorning many pride things and things like that into schools, that there was no business talking about that stuff whatsoever.
Yup. Completely agreed, as I agree with Waco Mine. The kind of whole point of the channel here, you should be proud to learn to coexist with people who are different than you. Exactly.
Shoehorning many pride things and things like that into schools, that there was no business talking about that stuff whatsoever.
You know, I just thought of this. Another really easy example of this argument would be, okay, well, what about if a teacher decided, we're going to start praying? Bet you wouldn't like that. Bet you wouldn't like that. Like I've said, Guantek has twisted my entire mind, realizing that, you know, I want to drive Christianity into either its death spiral or into its next evolution. But I would love that. But before I figured that out, before Guantek learned me a little bit, I would be so mad at things like putting the 10 Commandments up, having Bible, not having Bible, but like using Bibles and praying in school and stuff. Now I'm all about it, but for a very different reason. But yet again, we have there's no curriculum. Nobody fucking said there was a curriculum. You brought up curriculum the same way you brought up onshore manufacturing. And then you're trying to project that onto Rob. You don't even know what is coming out of your own mouth. And say that about Rob, who is literally walking you up and down. Like I said, the degree of dogma in an education setting should be limited to the safety measures involved in learning that subject. Yeah, I think I agree. I think I agree.
Shoehorning many pride things and things like that into schools, that there was no business talking about that stuff whatsoever. That Overton window shift is just the least of those things that are good going against woke. And I think we need much more of that. And I'm happy to be on the correct side of this 80-20 issue. I'm more than happy for you to be on the 20. And that's where Kamala Harris would.
Yep, I said shit. Me too. I'm on that 80. I'm on that 80. Keep it 80, baby. Hold on, baby. Hold on. I got you. Hold on. Shout out to TV viewers with a $10 PayPal. Thank you so very, very much, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much, guys. That is what 3 out of 15, and I mean you could do the math. What is it? What is it? Yeah, 3 out of 15, and then we are at 14 out of 50. We can still do it.
On the correct side of this 80-20 issue, I'm more than happy for you to be on the 20, and that's where Kamala Harris would.
I think the interesting thing is that we're not on different sides of this issue. You want the government to force speech, and you want the government to be selective in the speech that is allowed.
Are you not on the side of misgendering is illegal?
I just think everybody should be allowed to identify how they want. Look, I don't understand what it's like to be a trans.
They can, but I should be allowed to not respect that. So yet again, projection. What you talking about, honey, sweetie, baby?
I just think everybody should be allowed to identify how they want. Look, I don't understand what